Chapter 275. They wanted nothing more than to be able to taste this legendary and precious spiritual wine immediately. Regarding this, they were not stingy with their personal belongings and took out the most precious spiritual items they had on them. In a short period of time, it could be said that Sakra was dazzled. There were all kinds of spiritual items that he had seen before, never seen before, heard of and never heard of. They appeared one after another in front of him, which really made him feel overwhelmed. Spirit items that he had been looking for but could not find in the past suddenly appeared in front of him one by one. The fire dragon fruit, and even the fruit tree that grew the fire dragon fruit, the blood bodhi, was said to be a drop of blood from the Chilan's heart. After the evolution of heaven and earth, the ghost-faced peach was born. This peach tree could be said to be a strange tree. This peach tree was an object of extreme een and could only be born in a place of extreme een. After it bloomed and bore fruit, the fruit would not look like an ordinary peach, but a human face. The peach was also called the ghost-faced peach. The ghost-faced peach was said to be able to subdue ghosts. Ghosts would not dare to approach where it grew. Once they got close, they would be swallowed by the peach. Moreover, the ghost-faced peach was also a fruit that could be eaten. After eating it, the mysterious een energy in one's body would increase greatly, and one would be able to form the yin-yang eye and see ghosts. Di-Shirtian remembered that in the wine god's treasure mirror, there was a spirit wine that was brewed from the ghost-faced peach. It seemed to be called the underworld wine. It seemed that only ghosts in the underworld could drink it. Drinking it could help them cultivate. There were many benefits. Although it was called the underworld wine, it was a spirit wine for the beings in the underworld to drink. Of course, other races could drink it too, but the effects would not be as obvious as when ghosts drank it. Di-Shirtian did not refuse any of the various spirit items. As long as it was a spirit item, he would take it all and exchange it for some spirit wine. Unknowingly, an entire afternoon had passed by quietly. More than half of the thousands of gourds of spirit wine that he had prepared were exchanged. Apart from the wine in the wine god's gourd, there were less than 1,000 gourds of spirit wine left. After that wave passed, the number of demonic beasts that came to exchange for spirit wine slowly decreased. However, there was never a lack of demons in front of the stall. This wine fragrance is mellow and pleasant. It dissipates but doesn't disperse. It's thick but doesn't fade. When it enters the nose, it makes the chi and blood in the body become incomparably lively. It is indeed a rare spirit wine. Just as Di-Shirtian sent the previous demon away and was about to put the 4-leaf Ganoderma that he had just exchanged for into his storage bag, a slightly intoxicated voice rang out beside him. Looking in the direction of the voice, he couldn't help but be slightly stunned. Standing in front of him was actually a demon who had condensed an inner core. After the opponent transformed, he was a man in his 30s with a head of silver-white hair. This person was also wearing silver-white clothes. He was tall and slender and looked very handsome. He was much better looking than Di-Shirtian. If he was a woman, he would at least be a beauty that could cause the downfall of a country. On his face, he took a deep breath and smelled the wine fragrance coming from the gourd. He revealed an intoxicated expression as if he was already intoxicated by the wonderful wine fragrance of the spirit wine. From the looks of it, he was a fellow who loved wine. After a long time, he recovered from his intoxication. His eyes fell on the wine gourd and revealed a look of longing. He then looked at Di-Shirtian and his lips curved into an arc. He said with a smile, "I, Silver Hair, have been in human form for thousands of years. I have tasted all kinds of good wine in the human world. However, all wine is after all mortal wine. There is no way it can be compared to spirit wine. Unfortunately, spirit wine is a rare thing in the entire continent. Up until now I have only tasted it 2 or 3 times. I didn't expect to see a demon brother here taking out spirit wine to exchange for spirit wine. It's the legendary monkey wine. It's really a surprise." This silver-haired man had an easygoing face and didn't have the slightest pressure on him. He seemed very friendly and easy to become friends with. My brothers in the demon clan call me Silverhair. How should I address you? Silverhair asked Shirtion casually. Shirtion? Shirtion? Haha, that's a good name. It's very imposing. It suits your clan very well. Hearing this, Silverhair pondered for a moment and nodded at him. His eyes involuntarily looked at those gourds again. His Adam's apple squirmed and made a gulping sound. He reluctantly moved his eyes away and said, "Originally, I just wanted to walk around casually. I didn't expect to see spirit wine on sale. I didn't bring the spirit essence I got last time. I don't know if Brother D will go to the Treasure Exchange Convention in 9 days. If you do, I'll exchange some wine with you." As he said this, his face revealed a look of pity. It seemed that he didn't have anything suitable to exchange for the wine. Shirtion looked at Silverhair up and down. He didn't underestimate him at all. He felt that there was a layer of fog shrouding the person in front of him. He couldn't tell what level his cultivation had reached, but he was sure that his cultivation was definitely above his own. He was an expert of the demon clan. He thought to himself, could he be one of the 8 great demon kings of the demon clan? It was just a thought. Shirtion wasn't a stingy person. Silverhair was obviously a powerful demon king. He didn't want to make friends with him. He reached out and grabbed a gourd in front of him. He threw it to Silverhair without hesitation and said, "It's just wine. I don't have anything else, but I don't lack spirit wine. What can you exchange for it? This wine is my treat. If it's not enough, come and get it." It was just a gourd of spirit wine. If he could make friends with an expert of the demon clan, that was just a small matter. It was insignificant. Pah! Silverhair reached out and took the gourd. He opened it and smelled it with intoxication. He poured a mouthful into his mouth and let the wine swirl in his mouth. After a long time, he swallowed it and sighed deeply. It's really a rare good wine. Ordinary wine can't compare to it. However, I accept this gourd. If you want more, I'll exchange it with spirit essence. Shirtion, I'll remember you. I hope to see you at the Treasure Exchange Convention in 9 days. After that, he smiled faintly and waved his long sleeves. He took the gourd and turned to leave without any reluctance. He had the grace of not taking anything with him. He left in a carefree manner. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared among the demons. No one knew where he went. The Treasure Exchange Convention in 9 days? Shirtion saw this and secretly remembered this silver-haired man. He murmured, "It seems that there's a lot of good stuff at the Treasure Exchange Convention." His mind spun quickly. In the blink of an eye, he figured out that if the free exchange on the island was a gathering open to all members of the demon clan, then there must be some kind of strict restriction to participate in the treasure trading convention. Or, it was very likely that this was a gathering specially held for demons who had condensed their inner cores. After all, every demon who had condensed their inner elixirs were extraordinary. If they lacked something, it would be very difficult to find it at an ordinary gathering. If they wanted to exchange for something, they could only exchange it with a demon expert of the same level. Moreover, some rare treasures would definitely be taken out at the Treasure Exchange Convention. The word treasure was enough to show that the items taken out at that time were definitely worthy of being called treasures. If that's the case, I must attend the Treasure Exchange Convention. Shirtion thought for a while and said, "If it's as I guessed, then it won't be long before someone specifically notifies me. 9 days, there's still 9 days. I don't need to be in a hurry. I'll set up a wine stall at the big gathering for a few days first." He did not think too much about it. As long as there were spirit essences, it was the same everywhere. Anyway, the Treasure Exchange Convention was in 9 days. There was no need to be too anxious now. It was a good time to collect spirit essences. As for the rest, he could think about it later. "Hey brother!" Suddenly, just as Di Shirtian was thinking to himself, a call suddenly sounded in his ears and woke him up. He hurriedly looked up and his eyes lit up. He saw a beautiful woman in her 20s standing in front of him. She was dressed in a silk dress that outlined her beautiful figure. The loose robe could not cover her chest at all. She waved her long sleeves and a burst of fragrance wafted into his nose. It was exceptionally pleasant. No matter where she was, this woman could not escape the title of beautiful. However, her current actions had transformed her beauty into a different kind of temperament. With one hand on her waist and the other pointing at Di Shirtian, she looked like a delinquent girl. I heard that your spirit wine is very good. It's a rare treasure. I also want to drink it. Let's make a bet. If I win, all the spirit wine here will be mine. I'll bring it back for my father to taste. The woman said in a sweet voice, no matter what it is, I'll bet it. Bet? Di Shirtian's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. He carefully looked at her body and vaguely felt that there was a strange aura on her body that had a strange pressure on the surroundings. This pressure was naturally emitted and was not deliberate. Her cultivation was the same as the silver hair. He could not see through it at all. However, there was still an inexplicable feeling in his heart. Such a beautiful woman actually appeared in front of him inexplicably and said that she wanted to bet. This was a strange thing that he had never encountered before. He looked indifferent and shook his head. I'm sorry, I won't bet with you. If you want spirit wine, you can exchange it with spirit essences. No. The woman frowned and decisively refused. She said, in life, the greatest joy is gambling. Gambling is so interesting. It determines the winner and the loser. Whatever you want can be won by gambling. The joy of gambling is endless. Since I was born, I have won everything by gambling. I have never exchanged anything. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. I support the author and I support the original readers. Chapter 276. When it came to gambling, the woman was exultant and her words were clear and logical. Let's take your spirit wine as an example. I like it and I want it. Let's make a bet. As long as you win, the spirit wine will immediately be mine. I don't need to take out anything to get what I want. That kind of fun is really wonderful. The woman said in all seriousness, so, you must make a bet with me today. Otherwise, as she said that, a sly look appeared on her face. Otherwise what? Di Shirtian frowned slightly and muttered in his heart, why did I meet such a good person? If not for her unfathomable strength, he would have turned and left long ago. Otherwise, I will keep pestering you until you bet with me, the woman said proudly. If I, Ao Ching, want to bet with someone, even if I have to run to the ends of the earth, he must bet with me once. Oh, I know. As she said that, a look of realization appeared on her face. She said confidently, so you are worried that I don't have anything to bet with. Don't worry, I, Ao Ching, value gambling the most. Don't worry, I can take out whatever you want to bet. I am willing to bet on anything. As she said that, she untied the small colorful bag hanging on her waist and held it in her hand. She smiled and said, there are many treasures in my Qianquan bag. Look carefully. As she said that, she kept taking things out of the bag. A string of pearls the size of a longan, without a trace of blemish. They even vaguely emitted traces of spiritual qi. It was a blood-red coral tree that was more than 3 meters tall, like a big tree. All kinds of magic treasures, spiritual essences, spiritual materials, and so on were taken out by her as if she was throwing rubbish. They were all suspended in mid-air. In almost the blink of an eye, countless rare treasures were piled up in front of her. Wow, this is the night luminescent pearl produced by the smoke wave lake. Look, it is said that if you eat it, you can come back to life. As Ao Ching took out the items one by one, a group of demons gathered around them. When they saw the treasures, they could not help but exclaim in surprise. Some of the more knowledgeable ones even cried out loudly. Any one of them was a rare treasure. With such a large amount of treasures being taken out from that bag, to be able to hold so many things, it was obviously not an ordinary storage bag. Instead, it was a top-grade storage bag, called a cosmos bag. There really was something else in the bag. If he wanted to, he could even fit a mountain into it. All kinds of spiritual materials couldn't help but cause de Chertien's expression to change in an instant. Regardless of whether it was a spiritual item or a magic treasure, any one of them was a rare treasure. To be honest, it would be a lie to say that he was not tempted. However, when he heard the woman's name, his heart skipped a beat. Ao Qing. The surname Ao has always been the surname of the Dragon Clan. This place is full of monsters, and this is the territory of the Smoky Wave Dragon Clan. Could it be that this woman is a legendary dragon? Although he wasn't sure, he was 70 to 80% sure. Apart from the Dragon Clan, who else could have such a strong cultivation? Guessing was guessing, but he never showed it on his face. You don't have to take any more. I said that I don't know how to gamble, and I won't gamble with you. With such a rich family background, any one of your items can be exchanged for spiritual wine from me. Why do you have to gamble? De Chertien frowned and said calmly. He also felt a little strange in his heart. He didn't understand why an expert who had transcended the secular world would be addicted to secular gambling. It was really an anomaly. No, it has to be won by gambling for it to be meaningful. Only then will it be fun. Otherwise, it will be boring. Ao Qing curled her lips and shook her head repeatedly. With a happy face, she said, "Are you looking down on my chips? Let me tell you, I have a lot of good things. Here, look at the Shenong's Paradise map that I won from my uncle in the East Sea when I was 10 years old. This is a priceless treasure. See if you like it." As she spoke, she took out a rolled-up yellow scroll from her Qianquan bag. Ao Qing seemed to have full confidence in the charm of the scroll. She held it in her hand confidently and shook it gently. The scroll immediately unfolded. As soon as it unfolded, the scene in the scroll immediately appeared. In the scroll, there was a small river, a small lake, and a courtyard built with purple bamboo. There was a bright sun and a bright moon hanging above. The ground was covered with colorful soil. It seemed that the scenery in the scroll was vivid and lifelike, as if it was real. At first glance, it revealed a kind of spiritual beauty and was inexplicably mysterious. When one continued to stare at it, one would almost have the illusion that one's mind was about to be sucked into the scroll. What exactly is this scroll? Why do I feel like the things in the scroll are real? What exactly is going on? After staring at the scroll for a while, an inexplicable suction force appeared in the scroll and was about to suck one's mind into it. De Chertien immediately turned around and quickly calmed his mind, with a hint of surprise in his eyes. What is this scroll? Although he didn't want to know, De Chertien still asked out of curiosity. Ao Qing heard that and knew that De Chertien was curious. As long as one was curious, it would not be difficult to achieve one's goal. She couldn't wait for him to ask. After hearing that, she immediately said, as if she was familiar with the scroll, "Let me tell you, this is not an ordinary scroll. It is called the Shenong Wonderland Scroll. What you see in the scroll is not illusory, but real. This painting was an independent heavenly abode. The Wonderland is not large, only a radius of 3 miles. However, the soil inside is 5-colored soil, which is only lower than the 9 heavens living soil. It can be used to plant any kind of spiritual essence. The lake inside is formed by the 5 elements genuine water, and the river is the heavenly water. Each of them is a priceless treasure. Aren't you collecting spiritual essence? It is the most suitable place to plant them in the Shenong Wonderland. I will use this as a bet. You should agree to bet with me now." Ao Qing was obviously very confident in the Shenong Wonderland scroll in her hand. She had just seen De Chertien collecting all kinds of spiritual essence. Since he liked spiritual essence, there was no reason not to be interested in a wonderland where spiritual essence could be planted. Indeed, she didn't guess wrongly. After hearing that all the things in this painting were actually real, Sakra's eyes suddenly flashed with a trace of radiance. He was secretly surprised and bewildered. Could it be that this is really a priceless treasure that can form a paradise in a painting? I have never heard of this kind of method. If it's true, then if I really have such a heavenly abode in my hands, I can plant spirit herbs in it and have an inexhaustible supply of spirit herbs. However, he still asked, how can a wonderland be formed in a scroll? You don't know, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. As if to increase trust, Ao Ching said, my uncle said that this Shinong Wonderland scroll was passed down from the ancient times. A peerless master turned the seed of the world tree into an independent wonderland. Then he found the 5 colors soil as the soil. He captured the heavenly water in the 9 heavens and turned it into a stream. He took the 5 elements essence crystal and turned it into a 5 elements lake. Then he took the essence of the sun and the essence of the moon and formed the sun and moon in it. Although it is a defective failure, it is also a priceless treasure. There are only a few of them in the world. Using the 5 colors soil as the soil, capturing the heavenly river in the 9 heavens, the 5 elements essence crystal to form the 5 elements lake, the essence of the sun and the essence of the moon. Hearing this, with his cultivation, it was like fishing the moon from the bottom of the sea. Not only had he heard of it, but he also could not imagine what kind of peerless divine sense could do it. Failed product, defective product. If this was a defective product, what kind of situation would the real success be? For a moment, he could not help but yearn for it. How about it? Do you want to bet with me now? If you agree to bet, I will use this Shinong Wonderland scroll as the wager. Ao Ching shook the scroll in her hand. She said in a delicate voice, bet. Di Shirtian spat out a word without hesitation. His tone could be said to be unusually firm. It was as if he could cut through gold and iron. However, at the same time, he made another request. However, I will decide how to bet. He was very clear that he did not have much contact with gambling skills, whether in his previous life or this life. At most, he would play occasionally. In terms of gambling skills, even if there were 1,000 of him, it would be impossible to win against Ao Ching. If he wanted to bet and win, he had to find another shortcut. Good, straightforward. When Ao Ching saw Di Shirtian agree, her eyes immediately lit up. She said without hesitation, as long as you bet with me, I don't care how you bet. What I believe in is that anything in the world can be used to gamble. Gambling is omnipresent. How do you want to bet? Just tell me. She looked at Di Shirtian excitedly. With a wave of her hand, except for the Shinong Wonderland scroll in her hand, all the other things were put into her Qiankuan bag. I bet that you can't find me on Misty Wave Island within an hour. The light in Sakra's eyes flickered and his mind started to spin rapidly. Almost in an instant, he found the most advantageous situation for himself and said calmly, give me the time of an incense stick to hide within the range of Misty Wave Island. If I walk out of Misty Wave Island, I lose. If I don't and you can't find me within an hour, then I win. What do you think? This gambling method could be said to be unusual. Di Shirtian admitted that he was definitely not Ao Ching's opponent in a normal gambling method. You hide, I will find you. On Misty Wave Island. When Ao Ching heard this, she was not surprised at all by this strange gambling method. Her eyes turned slightly and she said with a smile, this is quite interesting. Well, let's bet according to what you said. I don't believe that I can't find you within an hour. She was also interested in this novel gambling method. She immediately agreed. After confirming the gambling method and the bet, Ao Ching's eyes turned and she took out a golden bowl from her Qiankuan bag. This bowl was called the Qiankuan bowl. She threw it on the island and immediately, the Qiankuan bowl turned upside down. Threads of golden light burst out from the bowl and completely covered the entire Misty Wave Island. This cover had no other meaning. It was just to set up a restriction around the island. At this moment, anyone who wanted to leave Misty Wave Island would be blocked. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 277. This way, they could ensure that no one could leave Misty Wave Island after the competition began. It was a foolproof move to ensure the fairness of the competition. Naturally, Ao Qing's actions were no match for the demon race experts on the island. Many of the demon race in human form who were meditating in the inns were startled awake. They casually asked around, and when they found out that there was a bet going on, they were all shocked and walked out of their quiet rooms, intending to see how the competition would play out. Interesting, really interesting. Princess Ao Qing of the Misty Wave Dragon Clan and Demon King Di Shirtian of the Demon Clan, who has condensed his inner core. I didn't expect to see something so interesting at this time. At this moment, on the only mountain peak on Misty Wave Island, there was a flat peak that looked like it had been cut out by someone with a knife. A silver-haired man was holding a wine gourd in one hand. He shook it gently and poured it into his mouth with unusual elegance. He savored it slowly. Beside him, there was actually a little girl dressed as a maidservant. She looked like she was carved from jade, and was only 8 or 9 years old. She was holding a simple and unadorned long sword in her hand, and stood respectfully behind the silver-haired man. She looked very cute, and at first glance, he could not help but like her. After she grew up, if nothing unexpected happened, she would definitely be a stunning beauty. Hearing the silver-haired man's words, the little girl could not help but ask in a childish voice, "Uncle, what's there to see?" "He's just a tiger who has condensed his inner core. You is much stronger than him. She's only 8 years old and has already condensed her inner core since birth. What's there to care about? Their gambling method is just hide and seek. How boring." As she spoke, a look of disdain appeared on her face, as if she looked down on this kind of game. "Haha, your birth is extraordinary. You were born with an innate talent and have already formed your inner core. You stand at a position that ordinary demon clan members may not be able to reach in their lifetime." The silver-haired man patted the head of the little girl called dotingly. You also showed a look of enjoyment. However, although your starting point is high, you absolutely cannot be arrogant. A high starting point is only a foundation. To be honest, Uncle wishes that you didn't have such a high starting point. I wish that you were like the other demons, starting from a spiritual beast and walking step by step to the core formation realm. The difficult path before the core formation realm is the stage that can test your willpower the most. Not only did one's cultivation reach a certain level, but one's willpower had also been tempered, which was hard to come by. It will allow you to have an unwavering will and not be afraid of any difficult test. Silverhair said earnestly, remember my words. Any demon clan member who can cultivate from an ordinary beast or even a spirit beast to the core formation stage and the human form stage is a rare wonder. Every single one of them was a powerhouse who had gone through countless trials and tribulations. Their future achievements would be immeasurable, because in the bottom of their hearts, each and every one of them had a perseverance that would never give up in the face of difficulties. But you haven't. When the girl heard this, she was a little unconvinced at first. However, in the blink of an eye, she fell into deep thought as if she had understood something. One was a wonder among demons who was born with an inner core, and the other was an ordinary demon who had climbed up step by step from the bottom. If they were at the same level and fought each other, the result would be thought-provoking. Silverhair saw that the girl was deep in thought and knew that she had taken his words to heart. He couldn't help but nod his head in relief. Looking down the mountain, he said, do you think that this is just a simple game of hide and seek? In fact, it's not. Although it doesn't seem to be anything special, it's a test of each person's skills. Without a unique method, it would not be easy to hide on a small misty wave island and not let others find it. It's also extremely difficult to find the person you want to hide. The girl called you or blinked and looked down, as if she could see the scene at the foot of the mountain. At this moment, at the foot of the mountain, Di Shirtian and Ao Qing's competition had already begun. After tidying up the stall, Di Shirtian left the market without hesitation. With a thought, a demon wind rose from the ground and swept him into the dense forest on the island. He had 30 minutes to find a hiding place. Shenlong's Wonderland map, this treasure, is of great use to me. No matter what, I must win it. Entering the forest, Di Shirtian looked around and showed a determined look. The Shenlong's Wonderland map might not be attractive to others, but it was different for him. The wonderland contained in the Shenlong's Wonderland map could give him great hope. Once the spiritual essence of heaven and earth was plucked out, even if it was placed in a jade box specially used to preserve the spiritual essence, it would still release its own power, not to mention growing it. That was an extremely difficult task. Out of 10 times, there might not even be one case of success. This was related to the environment and soil in which the spiritual essence grew. However, the 5-color soil in the Shenlong Wonderland was the most suitable soil for planting spiritual essence. Even if the spiritual essence was withered, it might be revived and rejuvenated when planted in it. Moreover, it could greatly accelerate the growth and maturity of the spiritual essence. If he had such a wonderland, then he might really be able to achieve his wish of brewing countless spiritual wines. With the support of endless spiritual essences, he could brew endless spiritual wines. With endless spiritual wines, he could develop his own forces at a high speed, not to mention his own cultivation. That would be unbelievably fast. He must get the Shenlong's Wonderland map. After knowing the magical effect of the map, Di Shirtian's heart had never been so eager. That was why he agreed to the bet without hesitation. Of course, since he agreed, he had already thought of a way to benefit himself. The relationship between finding and hiding was very important. Di Shirtian decided to hide by himself. Naturally, he was confident that he could hide from Ao Qing's search. This was not a game of hide and seek in the mortal world. The method of searching was not to search from place to place. One could use divine sense, magic treasures, or even spells. As long as one could find the hidden person, any method could be used. With Ao Qinglong's identity, she had countless magic treasures in her Qiankuan bag. Ordinary concealment methods would not be able to escape her search. Even if one knew the invisibility spell, she could still see through one's invisibility. Moreover, there were not many invisibility spells that could hide from her divine sense. In addition, there were some magic weapons that were specially used for searching, such as the demon-revealing mirror. No matter how deep one hid, one could not escape the fate of being found. Di Shirtian naturally thought of this. He also had something to rely on. In the depths of the forest, he stopped and quickly scanned the surroundings. After searching with his demon sense, he did not find any divine sense. Then, a look of determination appeared on Di Shirtian's face. He reached out and patted the storage bag. A jade box appeared in his hand. He opened the jade box. Immediately, a stalk of spiritual grass appeared in front of him with a strange fragrance. This spirit grass had 3 segments, and each segment had 3 faintly discernible green leaves that looked like orchid. It was the illusory spirit grass that he had obtained for the first time when he had set up his stall today with the spirit wine. The leaves of the illusory spiritual grass could make one's body invisible, could make one's physical body completely disappear into the air for 15 minutes. During this time, one would be illusory. No matter what kind of attack, it would not be able to hurt him. It was really like nothingness. It did not exist. Whether I can win or not, it all depends on you. I hope you are as magical as the records say. Otherwise, I will really lose. Tian looked at the illusory spiritual grass in his hand and took a deep breath. He reached out and gently plucked a green leaf. However, he did not eat it immediately. He had to eat it the moment before the incense's time was up. Only then could he make full use of it. He did not want to waste any time. The reason why he dared to bet with Ao Qing was because of this illusory spiritual grass. As time passed, the bet between Ao Qing and Tian really alarmed all the demon clans on the island. Many of the demon clans knew Ao Qing's identity and would not play any trick. They all watched the show. They wanted to see how the bet would develop. "Brother, there is going to be a show. The Dragon Lady of the Dragon Palace is going to bet with the Demon King of the Demon Clan. That's a rare thing. I heard that the Dragon King gave birth to 3 daughters in the Dragon Palace of the Smoky Wave Lake. The first princess is Ao Qing. She was born with a gambling addiction. When she gambled, she would not feel bored even if she gambled for 3 days and 3 nights. Since the age of 5, she had won the entire Dragon Palace and no one was her opponent. At the age of 13, she had won against everyone in the world. I heard that she has never lost again. The second princess is the best at fighting. I heard that her cultivation is the highest. If she doesn't fight every day, she will feel uncomfortable all over. The third princess is terrible when she cries. Dark clouds roll in the sky and thunder rumbles. It can kill people. For a moment, the demon clans on the island were discussing. Some things could be said to be clear and logical. But time waits for no one. In the blink of an eye, the incense's time was up. When the time was up, Sakra didn't hesitate to swallow that piece of illusionary spirit leaf into his mouth. This leaf was also mystical as it melted the moment it entered his mouth, turning into a cool liquid that flowed into his stomach. On the spot, countless streams of cold air surged into every inch of his body. This, my feet, my hands. I can't see anything. It is indeed magical. After the cold air flowed into every inch of his flesh, Tian's eyes scanned his entire body. He saw that his entire body, from top to bottom, had completely disappeared in an instant. He had turned into nothingness. The weight of his body seemed to have disappeared in an instant. He was like air, weightless. He could float with just a thought. Invisibility? This was not just invisibility. Invisibility was to hide one's body from the eyes of others so that they could not see it. However, one's body still existed. If one really touched it, one would still feel it. But now, he had truly turned into nothingness. There was no body, no existence. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 278. Invisibility. In the eyes of an ordinary person, the existence of a ghost could be said to be a form of concealment. However, if one opened the heaven's eye and transferred true yuan and demonic yuan to the eyes, or even if one was born with yin-yang eyes, the ghost would not be able to hide and could be seen with a single glance. Therefore, the concealment technique was extremely limited in many situations. However, Tian was not in the state of a ghost at all. Instead, his body and spirit had completely turned into nothingness at the same time. Apart from his own consciousness, he couldn't sense a single inch of his flesh and blood, not even himself. In this state, unless the world and the void were destroyed, there was no other way to force his body out. It was also Tian's luck. The illusory spirit grass had always been very rare. Until now, it had not appeared for many years. The conditions for its birth were very harsh. Moreover, after it matured, if it was not picked, the illusory spirit grass would turn into nothingness and hide its traces. It would be even more difficult to find it. As long as it was given a certain amount of time, the illusory spirit grass would be like Chen Shi, giving birth to spiritual intelligence and transforming into a demon. Hu Shan, who took out the illusory spirit grass, was only guarding it. after hundreds of years, he vaguely knew some of its functions. He knew that it had the effect of invisibility and life-saving. However, he still did not realize its true value. It was no wonder that Hu Shan's original form was a fox, but he was a demon enlightened by the demon awakening technique. In terms of spiritual intelligence, he was born with some deficiencies. He could not completely reach the level of ordinary people. In addition, he had not experienced much in the boundless secular world. That was why he could exchange for such a rare grass at such a cheap price. This could only be attributed to De Chertian's own luck. It could also be said that the demon clan, after all, lived deep in the mountains and forests. When they encountered something they liked, they would usually take out good things to exchange. Who lost and who gained was defined by the two sides of the exchange. This was the most primitive exchange in ancient times. It had nothing to do with the value of the item. After all, the demon clan did not have a specific way to evaluate the price like the immortal cultivation world. Perhaps there would be in the future. But on Misty Wave Island, transactions were all done by bartering. After feeling that he had really turned his body into nothingness, the confidence in Sakra's heart increased a bit. He thought to himself, the effect of each spiritual leaf of illusory spirit grass is only for a quarter of an hour, and the time limit of the bet is half an hour, which is 1 hour. In order to last for 45 minutes, he would need to consume 3 pills. I can't just stand here. I have to find a place to hide. After pondering for a moment, he didn't hesitate any longer. With a thought, his entire body floated forward. That's right, he was floating. It was a little inappropriate to say that he was floating. It was really difficult for him to feel his own body now. He didn't even have a trace of weight. This kind of feeling was really indescribably strange. His movement was not to hide in the depths of the forest, but to follow the path he came from and return to the open space where the demons had gathered. He had thought it through very clearly. Right now, the only thing that could avoid Ao Qing's search was the illusory spirit grass. If Ao Qing could even decipher the miraculous properties of the illusory spirit grass, no matter how deep he hid, as long as he was still on the island, it would be useless no matter how deep he hid. It was the same everywhere. On the contrary, when he returned to the gathering, he could watch Ao Qing's various methods. Even if he couldn't comprehend anything, he could at least gain some knowledge. After turning into nothingness, his speed was so fast that it was as if he had teleported. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in the gathering and stood beside Ao Qing. The illusory spirit grass was really magical. Even though he was so close to Ao Qing, she didn't feel anything. It's time for an incense stick to burn. De Chertian, you have to hide well. I'm going to start looking now. Don't make it too easy for me. Ao Qing calculated the time. When she saw that it was time, she couldn't help but show a trace of excitement on her face. She had a natural obsession when it came to gambling. No matter what the bet was, no matter who the opponent was, as long as it was a bet, she would have an obsession and confidence to win. When she saw that the time was up, she even shouted. Her voice didn't seem loud, but it spread across the entire Misty Wave Island in an instant. Uncle, what did De Chertian eat just now? Why can't you or find him anymore? It's as if he disappeared in an instant. The little girl standing on the highest Misty Wave peak couldn't help but murmur in surprise. She had been keeping her eyes and mind on De Chertian. She wanted to see what was so special about the powerful monster king that her uncle said had cultivated all the way from an ordinary beast to a powerful one. However, he did not expect that he would be able to watch him disappear without a trace right under his nose. Not even a trace of his aura or figure could be caught. Silver Hair shook the wine gourd in his hand and poured another large mouthful of spirit wine. Smelling the strange wine fragrance, he sighed, "Good wine, really good wine. Monkey wine really lives up to its name of spirit wine. It can gather 100 types of fruits in one place and add in all kinds of spirit herbs, allowing the flavors of these spirit herbs and fruits to fuse together perfectly to form such a spirit wine. I can't help but be impressed. The ancestors of the monkey race are truly unparalleled geniuses. He didn't immediately answer the little girl's question. Instead, he praised the wine in his hand. This silver hair was actually the monster king that Chertion had given a gourd of wine to. After sighing, Silver Hair casually glanced around and smiled faintly. In this world, there are many inconceivable things. There are tens of thousands of wondrous things. How could a monster king that could rise from nothing not have his own methods? Compared to them, you're still far too lacking. That's why I brought you out this time to see the monster kings of the world. As for the leaf that Chertion swallowed just now, I'm afraid it's a rare spiritual item. It's really amazing to be able to change one's body to the point where even I can't find it. Haha. Continue watching. The Smoke Wave Dragon Race's princess should have many tricks up her sleeve as well. It will be beneficial in the future. By the time he finished speaking, Ao Qing had already made her move. Her two beautiful eyes gently closed, leaving only her eyelashes moving slightly. Imperceptibly, a tyrannical divine sense quickly spread out from her body, and in an instant, with her as the center, it quickly covered the entire Misty Wave Island. Wherever it passed, every inch of space and every inch of land seemed to have been plowed by an old ox. The strength of his divine sense was comparable to that of a demon king. The demon king mentioned here was not something that was casually mentioned in the demon clan, where one could transform after passing the demon tribulations. It was a true demon king with a fourth transformation inner core and a true demon king who had passed the 3-9 demon tribulations. After passing the 6 to 9 demonic tribulation, one would become a great demon. After passing the 9 to 9 demonic tribulation, one would become a demon sage. In other words, Ao Qing's cultivation was equivalent to a demon king with a fourth transformation realm inner core. It was far stronger than Chertion, who had just condensed his inner core. It had to be said that the Dragon Clan, as the leader of the scaly races, was blessed by nature. Their natural endowments were so good that it made one's hair stand on end. To be able to reach such a level of strength so easily. It was truly incredible. Such a tyrannical divine sense covered the entire island, almost plowing the entire Misty Wave Island once, leaving no inch of land untouched. Heaven and earth were covered by her tyrannical divine sense. When it covered the island, the demons on the island could not help but change their expressions as they felt Ao Qing's tyrannical strength. Everyone was looking at her with different gazes. After a while, Ao Qing's eyes suddenly opened, revealing a look of surprise, but more excitement. She murmured, a demon king is indeed a demon king. Compared to other demon clans, you are indeed different. You actually have a way to escape from my divine sense. Interesting, really interesting. However, this is what makes it interesting. If I could win easily, wouldn't it be boring? Take a look at my 9 heavens and 10 earths God-searching technique. Ao Qing's interest was piqued. She quickly formed a series of mysterious seals with her hands and shouted softly. Immediately, an invisible wave appeared on the entire island at the same time. The 9 heavens and 10 earths God-searching technique could be said to be a powerful secret technique to search for enemies. As long as it was used, everything within 10,000 miles would be imprinted in one's mind in an instant, as if it was real. Within this range, regardless of whether it was a human, a deity, or a ghost, any living creature would show its traces. There was no possibility of hiding. Could search the heavens and the earth. Searching the heavens could search up to the 9 heavens, and searching the earth could search up to the 10 earth. Everything in the heavens and the earth was included. It was extremely powerful. According to legend, this secret technique had been lost in ancient times. Who would have thought that it would reappear here? The illusory spirit herb is indeed amazing. Di Shirtian was standing beside Ao Qing. He was only a foot away from her, but when his divine thoughts passed through his body, there was no reaction at all. Now, the strange wave emitted by the 9 heavens and 10 earths God-searching technique also passed through his body naturally, as if there was nothing at all. The illusory spirit herb was really too magical. When it hid, all the aura on his body turned into nothingness. It was as if he had never existed. How could he search for him? No matter how powerful the secret technique was, there was no way to find him in nothingness. Impossible. After scanning several times with the secret technique, Ao Qing's originally excited face suddenly became serious. She was vaguely surprised. My 9 heavens and 10 earths God-searching technique was one from the know-it-all old urchin. He said that no matter whether it was in the heavens or the earth, no matter what, no living creature, as long as it was within this range, it would never escape its senses. How could it not find Di Shirtian? Could it be that he gave me a defective product? Ao Qing secretly guessed, but how could she give up so easily? She adjusted her expression and said, "Humph, I don't believe that I can't find you. Just now you left your aura here. Take my 10,000 miles tracking technique. It still won't work. It's impossible. I still have a Dharma treasure, the 9 children and mother heavenly ghost painting." Chapter 279. Faceless Turtle Spirit Mirror, Find Him for Me. 100 Ghosts Parade Portrait. 100 ghosts move out and search for heaven and earth. Demon Revealing Mirror. Ao Qing was indeed Ao Qing. No one knew how many treasures she had won with her gambling skills. In any case, all the demons who were paying attention to her were watching her take out all sorts of magical treasures from her cosmos sack. Their eyes were wide open, and their jaws dropped as they stared blankly at the treasures that they might not see even once in 1,000 years. Faceless Turtle Spirit Mirror. Turtles were spiritual creatures of heaven and earth, and their shells had always been refined by many powerful cultivators for divination purposes. Refining them into mirrors would make them even more powerful. As long as it shone on a place, it would be able to clearly reveal its true form. As long as the image of the person they were searching for was branded, they would be able to find it automatically. The 100 Ghosts Parade Portrait was a treasure of the underworld. It could absorb countless ghosts and control them for one's own use. It was very powerful. It was said that it was a formation diagram. The demon revealing mirror was even more powerful. It was said that any demon would reveal their true form in front of it. It could search heaven and earth. Some of these magical treasures were authentic, while others were fake. However, their power was not to be underestimated. Seeing that Di Shirtian could not be found by any of her secret techniques, Ao Qing grew anxious. She used all of her magical treasures at once. Instantly, 100 ghosts roamed the island, and waves of sinister aura filled the air. The entire island seemed to have turned into a ghost town. It was terrifying. Di Shirtian, who was standing beside her, was sweating profusely. He was completely numb to Ao Qing's endless treasures. He really did not know how many treasures she had in her cosmos sack. If he could get his hands on them, he would go from a pauper to a millionaire. In fact, Ao Qing herself didn't know how many treasures there were in the Qianquan bag. Anyway, after she mastered her gambling skills, she often left the Dragon Palace and wandered around. She gambled with whoever she met. Even if she didn't want to gamble, she would still play with them. She had been to the 4 seas, the purple gold continent, the world of immortal cultivation, and the secular world. She threw all the treasures she won into the Qianquan bag. According to her, it didn't matter what she won. Even if it was a stone, as long as she could bet with her. Over time, the treasures in the Qianquan bag began to move. There were so many of them that even she, the owner, didn't know how many there were. It wasn't as if no one had ever coveted her treasures before. However, her cultivation was not just any ordinary high level. Furthermore, she had the Dragon Clan as her backing. who would provoke the Dragon Clan, one of the few powerful clans in the Purple Gold Continent, for no reason. Wasn't that the same as asking for death? However, no matter how many magic treasures she had, she still couldn't find Tirtian. And Tirtian had already taken another illusionary spirit leaf. For a moment, all the monsters were amazed by the magic of Ao Qing's secret method and her many magic treasures. At the same time, they also admired Tirtian even more. After all, no one could be sure that he could hide under such a series of continuous searches. Of course, Tirtian could always keep his whereabouts. This method was absolutely amazing. Therefore, whether it was those monsters who were still in the monster realm or the monster kings who had condensed their inner elixirs, they all remembered Tirtian's name at this moment. Therefore, Tirtian had unknowingly become famous among the monster clan. At this time, on the island, it could be said that all the monsters knew about him. It's impossible. Tirtian had just condensed his inner core. Logically speaking, it's impossible for him to escape from my search. I have so many magic treasures and mystic arts, but I still can't find him. Could it be that he has some mystical mystic arts and mystic arts? Ao Qing's brows were tightly knitted as she secretly guessed how Tirtian escaped from her search. However, no matter how hard he racked his brains, he still couldn't figure out what kind of method could be used to hide so deeply on this tiny island. Looking around, there were many monsters gathered around, and the Water Clan of the Dragon Palace was maintaining order. However, almost all the eyes of the monsters were focused on her. Am I really going to lose? Ao Qing couldn't help but have a thought that she had never had before. Once it appeared, it was hard to erase. Thinking back carefully, ever since she mastered gambling, she had almost never lost. She gambled all over the world and won all over the world. She didn't expect to suffer such a big setback here. Her expression was gloomy, and the corners of her mouth twitched a few times, revealing a somewhat ugly smile. She took a deep breath, waved her hand, and put away all the treasures in front of her. She raised her voice and said, "Tirtian, come out. I, Ao Qing, admit defeat." She had used all her skills, but to no avail. There was no point in delaying any further. Although only an hour had passed, she already knew in her heart that she had lost this bet. She had always had a straightforward personality. Although it was hard for her to accept losing the competition, she always knew that a loss was a loss, and a win was a win. In this aspect, she had always been very clear about it. However, it was undeniable that the courage required to make a victorious general lower her head and admit defeat was definitely not something that an ordinary person could imagine. Princess Ao Qing is indeed an extraordinary woman. Tirtian admires you. Just as Ao Qing finished speaking, Tirtian didn't hide anymore, and said with deep admiration in his heart. He was standing right beside Ao Qing, and his voice was completely by her ear. It gave Ao Qing a huge fright. She hurriedly turned her head, only to see Tirtian's body reappearing in front of her from the void. Wow, this is too unbelievable. Tirtian is actually by Princess Ao Qing's side. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? The person I'm looking for is actually right in front of me. What kind of mystique is this? He's really on Misty Wave Island. I thought Tirtian had left the island, and that was why he wasn't found. I didn't expect. Demon King, could this be the Demon King's mystique? I've decided, I'm going to work hard to become a Demon King. Tirtian had always appeared so close to Ao Qing. This gave the demons, and even Ao Qing, an indescribable shock. Shock, it was indeed shocking. No one would have thought that Tirtian had always been standing just a step away from Ao Qing. Ao Qing couldn't help but open her mouth wide, and only closed it after a long while. She was still a little shocked, and when she turned around she looked a little downcast. She took out the Shinong's Paradise map and threw it into Tirtian's hands, saying, "I lost. According to the bet, this Shinong's Paradise map is now yours. But Halfway through, she suddenly changed her tone and said in a high-pitched voice, "Although you won this time, you definitely won't have the chance to win against me next time. I'll come and find you again." With that, she waved her sleeves and leapt into the air. Roar! A dragon's roar shook the heavens. Ao Qing's body suddenly turned into a green divine dragon, and with a splash, she dove into the misty wave lake. It seemed that she was in a bad mood after losing the bet, and had returned to the Dragon Palace. The Shenong's Paradise map is a treasure, and it's too important to me. I'd better go back to the quiet room of the inn and refine it first. A long night is fraught with problems. Although he had already guessed Ao Qing's identity, when she turned into a dragon, he couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. In his previous life, he had the identity of a descendant of the dragon, but all along, he had never seen a divine dragon with his own eyes. Now that he saw it, he could only sigh in his heart. It was indeed the supreme of all beasts, the head of scales. It was really miraculous. Holding the Shenong's Paradise map, Di Shirtian couldn't help but feel excited. This was a true treasure, and there was a cave hidden in it, but to use it, it had to be refined and recognized as its master. Only then would he be qualified to plant all kinds of spiritual essences and seeds in the cave. This could be said to be a very important matter. Therefore, without hesitation, he first put away the scroll and walked straight to the quiet room. As for the demons who wanted to meet along the way, he just kept rejecting them. In the end, he really had no choice but to fly away. Returning to the quiet room, he probed the scroll with his demon consciousness. Suddenly, a wave of information from the scroll entered his mind. It was about the refining method of the scroll. This method also secretly surprised Di Shirtian, not because it was too complicated, but because it was too simple. It was too simple, and there were only 2 steps. First, drip blood to recognize the master, and then obtain the preliminary recognition, and then enter the cave in the painting. In the bamboo courtyard in the cave, there was a cave-suppressing spiritual tablet, and as long as this cave-suppressing spiritual tablet was refined, it would be fine. At that time, everything in the cave would be under his control. Di Shirtian didn't hesitate and immediately began to refine. On the smoke wave peak, the silver-haired uncle and niece who had witnessed everything with their own eyes also withdrew their gazes. Uncle, in Yu Er's opinion, Di Shirtian relied on the power of spiritual essences to win dishonorably. It's also not his own ability, Yu Er said with some dissatisfaction. Haha, Yu Er, what's dishonorable about this? Didn't Ao Qing also use a magic treasure? Spiritual essences are external objects, and so are magic treasures. Anything, as long as it can be used, it can be won. That's the only reason. There's no such thing as external objects. If you really want to fight, it's about life and death. In the face of life and death, any means are not important. The silver-haired man's words carried a deep sense of realization. All right, Yu Er, in a while, the Sky Fae mystic realm will open, and I'll take you there. No matter how far you can go, just treat it as an experience. Perhaps you can gain some enlightenment in there. If you're lucky, you can find that pagoda. If you obtain that pagoda, Yu Er, your future will be limitless. Sooner or later, you'll step into the peak of the world. Pagoda, pagoda. Who in the world wouldn't be tempted by a pagoda? That was a true treasure, a gem. Once one obtained it, one could change one's fate. Even a pig could cultivate a great divine power. Got it, uncle? Yu Er definitely won't let you down. Remember, in the mystic realm, there are not only demons, but also human cultivators. When the time comes, you can't be soft-hearted when you encounter them. Kill, kill. If you don't kill them, they'll kill you. In the mystic realm, I can't save you. There's no mercy to speak of. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please visit www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support original reading. Chapter 280. Ewer understands. However, uncle, you've entered the mystic realm once before. Now that the mystic realm is about to open again, shouldn't you tell Ewer about the situation in the mystic realm? Ewer raised her little face. Her fair and delicate little face was filled with anticipation and a thirst for knowledge. Silverhair raised the bottle gourd and poured another mouthful of spiritual wine into his mouth. He said, "It's not that uncle doesn't want to tell you, but the Sky Demon Mystic Realm is a small world created by the Supreme Masters of the Sky Demon Realm using the seed of the World Tree. It's a unique existence that's independent of heaven and earth. It's constructed by great magical powers. No one knows how big the mystic realm is, how many obstacles there are, and how dangerous it is. Some things won't be of much use even if I tell you. As long as you enter the mystic realm, everyone will be separated and teleported to different places. Back then, the place I was teleported to was a sea of fire." His words were filled with emotion. For countless years, the Sky Demon Mystic Realm had appeared many times, but there were very few who could really benefit from it. In the Mystic Realm, what was tested was one's cultivation, willpower, and even unfathomable luck. Perhaps, when you were teleported, your luck defied the heavens and you were directly teleported to a rare treasure. It was easy to get. There were examples of this. However, you have to be careful of one thing. If you can reach a place called the Heavenly Inyang Bridge, you must be careful. Silverhair doted on his niece after all. He knew that once she entered the mystic realm, it would be difficult to help her. Inside, she could only rely on herself. No one had the ability to help her. However, there were some things that were beneficial to remind her now. Heavenly Inyang Bridge? Uncle, what is that place? Ewer's spirit was lifted, and there was a glimmer of light in her eyes. She focused her mind, afraid that she would miss anything. The Heavenly Inyang Bridge is a divine bridge built over a large river. The river under the bridge is called the Huangquan River, also known as the Huangquan Purgatory River. Any living creature that falls into the river will be instantly corroded, and their soul will fall into the river forever. They will suffer endless torment and pain in the Huangquan River. No matter how powerful you are, you won't be able to escape the fate of never being reincarnated. The expression of the silver-haired man at this time was also very dignified. Faintly, there was a trace of indescribable fear. He took a deep breath and continued, "Moreover, you can't fly on the Huangquan River. Even if you have the ability to reach the heavens, you can't fly over it. The only way is the Heavenly Inyang Bridge. Only 9 living beings could cross this bridge. Once 9 of them passed through, no one else would be able to move forward. He could only retreat. Therefore, on the bridge, every inch of road was an inch of blood. Crossing the bridge was a path of blood. If you want to obtain a fortuitous encounter, you have to fight, rob, and kill." His tone was very calm, but the meaning behind his words gave off an ice-cold killing intent. Although it was plain, it revealed the law of the jungle. If you are strong, you will have opportunities. Opportunities will not fall on your head for no reason. You will have to fight for them. Ewer's face stiffened, and the light in her eyes turned a few times. She nodded seriously and said, "Ewer will remember Uncle's teachings?" And the silver-haired man looked at the void with a deep gaze and said, "Ewer, this time you decided to go to the secret realm yourself. Once you enter the secret realm, whether you live or die depends on you. If you come out alive, your future achievements will be immeasurable. If you die inside, Uncle will finish what you have not done." "Thank you, Uncle." Not to mention the shocking secret that the uncle and nephew discussed on the smoke wave peak. Even if it was about the Sky Demon's secret realm, it had nothing to do with Di Shirtian. At this time, Di Shirtian was sitting in the quiet room. In front of him, a long scroll painting had been unfolded in the air. The scene in the painting was vivid and lifelike. On the surface of the painting, there were faint bursts of yellow light that flowed quickly. the light radiated in all directions, and gradually, the entire quiet room was filled with alternating lights. Faintly, there were strange sounds coming from the painting. The sound of running water, the sound of the wind blowing by, and the fragrance of the soil. Everything felt like it was very rustic. It was as if he had returned to the simple mountain village. The cave suppression's spiritual tablet is flexible. The grotto heaven is only for my use. It belongs to me. After a long time, when the yellow light on the painting reached its peak, Shirtyan's eyes that had been closed for a long time suddenly opened. 2 threatening rays of light shot out and landed on the painting. Then, with a soft shout, the entire Shinnon Grotto Heaven painting was wrapped in a yellow light and rushed into his body with a whoosh. In the blink of an eye, it fell into the demon residence. It was not difficult to refine the Shinnon Grotto Heaven painting. Originally, it did not have an owner. Therefore, the refinement was like a hot knife through butter. It only took 2 hours to refine the cave suppression spiritual tablet and completely control the entire Grotto Heaven. When the Shinnon Grotto Heaven painting entered his body, it could be said that it was inseparable and integrated into one. With a thought, everything in the Shinnon Grotto Heaven immediately appeared in his mind. The Grotto Heaven is refined. Now let's see if this Grotto Heaven is really as magical as Ao Ching said. At the same time, I'll plant the spiritual herbs and seeds I got, so that the medicinal properties of the spiritual herbs won't be lost. Now that he had mastered the Shinnon Grotto Heaven painting, Shirtyan naturally wanted to test if this newly acquired Grotto Heaven was really as magical and useful as the legends said. Without any hesitation, with just a thought, he saw that in the quiet room, his body was like a ripple, rippling strangely for a moment. Then, he disappeared into thin air. When he disappeared, there was not even a trace of fluctuation. His departure could be said to be strange. When he reappeared, Shirtyan was already standing in the Grotto Heaven. When his feet landed on the 5-colored soil, an extremely rich spiritual energy immediately rushed into his body through his feet. It quickly circulated in his body along the demon veins and easily turned into the purest demon chi. The spiritual energy contained in the 5-colored soil was really rich to an incredible extent. Taking a deep breath and smelling the fragrance of the earth in the air, he couldn't help but feel relaxed and happy. He was pleasantly surprised. Sure enough, Ao Ching didn't lie to me. This earth should be the legendary 5-colored earth. Any spiritual item that is planted in here can perfectly survive. Although the Grotto Heaven is not big, it is a perfect place to plant spiritual herbs. Feeling the magic of the soil under his feet, Shirtyan was also secretly amazed. This was only the 5-colored soil. If it was the legendary first divine soil, the living soil of the 9th heaven, how magical would it be? The lake is condensed by the 5 elements true water, and the stream is the sky river. Such a treasure land, good soil, good water, has all the conditions to grow all spiritual herbs. What spiritual herbs can't survive? Looking carefully, the Grotto Heaven was really not big. It was only 3 miles in radius. But for planting, it was completely enough. As the saying goes, a greedy man is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. It was already a blessing to have such a Grotto Heaven. If he asked for too much, he would be too greedy. Patting the storage bag at his waist, jade boxes wrapped in a ray of spiritual light flew out and piled up in front of him. These jade boxes contained all the spiritual herbs that he had exchanged previously, as well as the spiritual herbs that he had accidentally found and plucked. This time, he took them all out. The first thing he opened was the illusory spirit grass. At this time, the first 3 leaves of the illusory spirit grass were gone. Shirtyan had used them for the bet. Now that he thought about it, this trade was quite worth it. The roots of the illusory spirit grass were all intact. He dug a small hole in the ground and carefully planted the illusory spirit grass. With a wave of his hand, he summoned the 5 elements true water in the lake. Immediately, the entire stalk of illusory spirit grass glowed with vitality. The roots pierced into the soil happily, and the entire stalk of illusory spirit grass glowed with light. The leaves danced and rustled, playing the music of life. The illusory spirit grass was alive again. One had to know that it was not easy to plant a spiritual herb that had been plucked out again. But here, it could be grown easily. Shannon Grotto Heaven was really extraordinary. Seeing this scene, Di Shirtian could not help but feel secretly happy. Without further thought, he opened the other jade boxes one by one and took out all kinds of precious spiritual herbs. He found a place close to the stream and planted the saplings of the immortal peach tree. The ghost-faced peach tree was stored in a mustard seed jade box from an adult tree. When he took it out, it was more than 10 feet tall. It could grow as soon as he planted it. He then planted the blood Bodhi vine under the peach tree and let it climb up the tree trunk. All kinds of ginseng, sealwort, and lingzhi were planted one by one. Lotus flowers that grew in the water were also planted in the lake. With the 5 elements true water, there would be no problem for them to grow. All kinds of seeds were scattered one after another. With the help of the 5 colors soil, it would not take long for saplings to grow. Then, he planted a purple bamboo around the courtyard. The purple bamboo grew quickly here. After a while, bamboo shoots would grow and new bamboo would be born. At that time, it would form a purple bamboo forest, which would be interesting. Finally, after planting the few spiritual tea trees that he had obtained earlier, he had already planted all the spirit essences he had on hand. With the spiritual herbs as decoration, the whole grotto heaven was unknowingly overflowing with a kind of life aura. After looking around carefully, Di Shirtian revealed a faint smile at the corner of his mouth. A trace of determination flashed in his eyes. With such a good grotto heaven, it would be a waste not to plant all kinds of spiritual herbs in it. He had already made up his mind. In the future, as long as he found spiritual herbs, he would transplant them here. He would definitely make this grotto heaven the best place for spiritual herbs. He would plant an inexhaustible supply of spiritual herbs for himself. With this grotto heaven, he would have the opportunity to brew all kinds of spiritual wine. This was also a reflection of his foundation. After staying in the grotto heaven for a while, he left it. For a moment, in the quiet room, Di Shirtian's body strangely appeared out of thin air, just like when he left. Knock, knock, knock. As soon as he returned, there was a rhythmic knock on the door outside. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 281. Who would be looking for me at this time? Di Shirtian frowned slightly. Although everyone on Yanba Island was from the demon clan, he didn't know many of them. The only one that left a deep impression on him was Ao Ching and that unfathomable silver hair. Apart from Medusa, no one else knew where he lived. Could it be Medusa? Although he was deep in thought, he still said in a deep voice, "Please come in." The quiet room had its own restriction. After all, it was made by the Dragon Palace, so it was impossible for there to be no preventive measures. Otherwise, it would be a tragedy if someone was inexplicably disturbed during the closed-door cultivation and suffered from qigong deviation. As he spoke, he waved his hand and removed the restriction in the quiet room. Jia! With a soft sound, the door was pushed open. Surprisingly, the one outside was not Medusa as he expected. Instead, it was an old tortoise with a black tortoise shell draped over his body. He was dressed almost exactly like the Prime Minister tortoise in the TV series in his previous life. He was holding a jade token in his hand. Seeing Di Shirtian in the quiet room, a smile appeared on his face. "Your Excellency, I'm the Prime Minister tortoise of the Yanba Dragon Palace. Please forgive me for disturbing you." Prime Minister Tortoise walked into the room with a smile. It wasn't that he couldn't hide his tortoise shell and transform into his human form. Carrying a tortoise shell on his back was a habit or even a symbol of his identity. So it's the Prime Minister Tortoise of the Dragon Palace. Greetings, Tion. In fact, Sakura had already guessed his identity when he first saw him. It was really because his dressing was too obvious. It was hard not to know. However, he didn't look down on him. How could the Prime Minister of the Dragon Palace be ordinary? He had an important position in the Dragon Palace. He stood up and asked doubtfully, "Prime Minister, may I know why you're looking for me?" As the saying went, one wouldn't wait for nothing. He didn't think that the Prime Minister Tortoise was here just because he had nothing to do. "Demon King, you're too polite," Prime Minister Turtle said amiably. "Old Turtle is actually here to inform Demon King of the location of the treasure trading convention that will be held in a few days. If there's anything you don't understand, Old Tortoise can also answer your questions." After chatting, Tion learned that Dragon Palace was still the host of the treasure trading conference. After all, this was the territory of Dragon Palace. As the host, he would not neglect the Demon Kings. The participants of the treasure trading conference were all Demon Kings, and each of them held a pivotal position in the demon tribe. For such a Demon King, the items he would be trading would definitely be extraordinary. It was obviously impossible for others to host it. Even if they wanted to, they wouldn't have the ability to do so. Only the independent and powerful Dragon Clan had the strength and qualifications to do so. This was also the reason why Prime Minister Turtle had come to inform him. Speaking of which, the location of the treasure trading conference was indeed unusual. It was held in a crystal palace that Dragon King had taken out. The crystal palace could be said to be a magic treasure. The space inside was no different from a real palace. It was the most suitable place for the conference to be held. The key to entering was the jade token that Prime Minister Turtle had delivered. When the time was up, one could crush the jade token and enter the crystal palace instantly. After the transaction, one could leave freely. Dragon Palace was only the host. They wouldn't interfere with any transactions in the middle of the conference. They were only there to maintain order. Their status could be said to be extraordinary. Now, there were only 8 days left before the treasure trading conference. After sending Prime Minister Turtle away, Tion's eyes flashed with an inexplicable look. He had a good impression of Prime Minister Turtle. Prime Minister Turtle's aura was very amiable, and he did things very simply. There was a reason why someone from the Turtle Clan could be the Prime Minister. After all, the Turtle Clan had a long lifespan. They had experienced and seen far more things than other clans. With rich experience, they would naturally be good helpers to Dragon King. "I have to participate in the treasure trading conference. However, there are still 8 days before the conference. I can't waste these few days. I'll go out and set up a wine stall for a few more days. I can't waste such a good place like Shenong Wonderland." Tion made up his mind. No one would mind buying more good things. He still had some ordinary spiritual wine. If he really ran out of them, he could take out some more 10-year-old ones from the god of wine gourd. They had different values and could be exchanged for more spiritual essences. As for the treasure trading conference, he didn't bother to prepare for it. At that time, he would take out some of the 100-year-old monkey wine. If he couldn't, he would take out the rarest 1,000-year-old monkey wine, which was only about 10 gourds. Its value was greatly different from that of ordinary spiritual wine. Just a sip of it was a treasure that couldn't be bought with money. He didn't have to worry about not being able to exchange for good things. He didn't think too much about it. The next day, he went back to his original position, set up his stall, and continued to do business. There were many demons on Misty Wave Island, but there were also many cultivators on North Underworld Island. North Underworld Island was located in the middle of North Underworld Lake. Unlike Misty Wave Lake, North Underworld Lake was the most desolate and dangerous lake. The water inside was called North Underworld water. This water was extremely cold. No matter what season it was, it emitted an awe-inspiring chill. Moreover, every night the chill would become more intense. As soon as the sky turned dark, thick layers of ice would form on the surface of the lake, covering the entire North Underworld lake. If one fell into North Underworld lake at night, the chill in the lake would freeze one to death, even if one was a core formation cultivator. Turning into an ice sculpture was truly terrifying. Ordinary aquatic creatures couldn't adapt to such an environment at all. Even if they entered the lake, they would be frozen solid in less than an hour. However, this was a strange place. Ordinary aquatic creatures couldn't survive, but there was a type of fish in the lake called the fiery sunfish. Its body was fiery red, and its body contained extremely strong heat. In this cold North Underworld lake, not only would it not freeze to death, but it would also live freely like a fish in water. The coldness of the lake water could neutralize the heat in its body. The truly miraculous thing was that if one ate the fiery sunfish, their lifespan would increase. The only white fish scale on their heads made them immune to water and fire. In the past, there were cultivators who specially collected these scales and refined them into a treasured garment called the heavenly silk garment. When worn, it could repel water and fire and was impervious to all evils. It was a rare treasure. Now, after being hunted, the fiery sunfish was relatively rare. On North Underworld Island, one could see that the cold couldn't extinguish the blazing fire in the hearts of the cultivators. It even ignited their desire for the treasures in the heavenly demon mystic realm. With a casual glance, he saw that the number of cultivators gathered on the island was far greater than that of the demon race. From foundation establishment to nascent soul cultivators, it could be said that there were all kinds of cultivators. On this island, while it was crowded, it also formed a market. It was extraordinarily lively. Looking at the number, there were probably hundreds of thousands. Experts gathered. There were also all kinds of inns built on the island. There were many of them. At this moment, in a quiet room in an inn, two young girls were sitting together. One of them was a girl in plain clothes with a veil on her face and a zither on her lap. The girl in front of her had a playful face and looked very delicate. "Sister Katomi, do you think Big Brother D will also participate in the heavenly demon mystic realm this time?" The delicate girl supported her chin with both hands and said longingly, "Xiao Dai hasn't seen Big Brother D for almost a year. I wonder how he's doing now." If Di Shirtian was here, he would realize that this girl was actually Xiao Dai, the girl he met in the Zither Melody Valley back then. She had also joined the Zither family. The one wearing a veil in front of him was Katomi. "I have a feeling that Big Brother D will definitely come." Katomi gently stroked the zither in her hand, revealing traces of indescribable emotions towards this zither. She said, "However, my father told me that the heavenly demon mystic realm is a secret left behind by the experts of the demon clan. There are 2 entrances, but apart from the demon clan, it's very difficult for others to know where they are. Even if they know, they can't go. It seems that the entrance is guarded by the dragon clan. However, although the entrances are different, I believe that Big Brother D and I will definitely meet again in the mystic realm." There was a hint of confidence in her voice. Xiao Dai also wants to see Big Brother D. Anyway, whether he's a demon or not, he won't hurt Xiao Dai. Actually, there's nothing wrong with being a demon. Xiao Dai also knew about Di Shirtian's identity. Although she was surprised, she didn't reject him too much when she thought about their experiences together. In another inn, Chu Yun, who was dressed in green, raised her eyebrows and looked out of the window. She clenched her fists and muttered, "Father gave me a precious treasure of the family and asked me to come here to find an opportunity. I definitely can't disappoint him. That trash Zhong Yunfei can't even subdue a demon tiger. He wants to marry me? Dream on. If I can get an opportunity this time, I will have a chance to increase my strength greatly. In the future, I can go wherever I want." No one can control me. In her mind, a divine black tiger inexplicably appeared. In her heart, she still hadn't given up on the thought of subduing the black tiger. The Li family of Lingnan had also sent out the most elite team in the entire family this time. The leader was an elder who had already stepped into the core formation realm. This was a core formation realm expert that was forcefully nurtured with countless resources. It could be said that the Li family had done everything for this matter. The Chu family where Chu Yun was, the Qin family where Katomi was, the Blood Cloud sect and so on. Almost all of the sects had sent experts here. On this North Night Island, it could be said that most of the forces in the cultivation world had gathered. Most of the elites were here. Of course, the experts sent by the major forces in the cultivation world were also based on the foundation that wouldn't affect the overall strength of the sect. After all, every time the Heavenly Demon's secret realm opened, less than 30% of the cultivators who entered came out. The number of people who died inside was uncountable. What they had to consider was the inheritance of their own sect. It was impossible for them to come out in full force. The treasures in the secret realm were too elusive. But even so, the strength gathered was still immeasurable. Compared to the demon clan, they were much stronger. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 282. In the past, the sects that Di Shirtian had encountered and known were like a speck of a leopard in North Night Island. Take those large sects for example. The Thousand Beasts sect was one, and so was the High Heaven sect. The Blood Cloud sect and the Lianyun sect could be said to belong to this category. But here there were more than a dozen such large sections. This did not include the 4 great holy lands that were above the large sects: Heavenly Sword Valley, Myriad Demon's Palace, Benevolent Boathouse, and Great Void Temple. These were the 4 holy lands of the cultivation world with unfathomable strength. Even apart from these, on the Zijin mainland, there were still many hidden forces that did not reveal themselves. In this world, no one would know exactly how many powerful existences and forces were hidden under the immortal cultivation world that seemed to be bright and clear. As long as they were not touched, this situation might continue until one day, when something that could threaten them happened, they would erupt with incredible power at the same time. Take the Qin family that Katomi belonged to for example. On the surface, it did not seem to be a big deal. The Qin family's patriarch, Qin Xian, was at most a nascent soul master. However, when it came to a moment of life and death, the energy they unleashed would be unbearable for anyone. Without strength, how could the Qin family guard the mysterious seal for countless years? Hidden strength was called a foundation. Coincidentally, the Heavenly Demon Mystery Realm was a major event that could attract the attention of those hidden forces. Therefore, at this moment, North Night Island was filled with people from all walks of life. Any random person in front of you could be the young master of a powerful force. It was truly a place filled with nobles. But whether it was North Night Island or Smoky Wave Island, the Sky Monster Mystic Realm had not opened, so they could only wait on the island. When it opened, they could naturally choose whether to enter or not according to their wishes. If they entered, even nascent soul masters would be in danger of dying. Don't forget who created the mystic realm. The sky monsters of the monster clan looked at nascent soul cultivators as if they were looking at ants. They could casually poke a large number of them to death with a finger. What happened to North Night Island had nothing to do with Di Shirtian now. Even if he wanted to know, it would be difficult. He just followed his own plan and leisurely set up a stall on the island for 8 days, selling wine for a few days in exchange for a large pile of spirit essences. Some of the spirit essences were simply strange, and he had never even heard of them. However, he still didn't refuse them. As long as it was a spirit essence or a treasure, he wouldn't refuse. No matter how many there were, he would take them all. In any case, he didn't have much other things, but he had a lot of spirit wine. What was worth mentioning was that the ice fire fruit that they had been looking for previously was also traded for 10 gourds of spirit wine by a demon on the third day. Of course, a single fruit was not worth so much spirit wine. The key point was that the other party had brought the ice fire fruit tree along with them. This fruit tree was entirely the color of ice crystals and was not very tall. It was only about half a meter tall. This was already an adult tree and would not grow any taller. The 5-colored soil, which could adapt to the growth of any spiritual essence, naturally allowed the spirit tree to be rejuvenated and grow again. Tirtian also planned to wait for a period of time, cut off the branches and transplant them, and cultivate a few more. It just so happened that they could be used to brew mystic ice jade fire wine. This was a spirit wine that was not inferior to the monkey wine. The harvest from this trip to Misty Wave Island is indeed boundless. I have a grotto heaven and a spiritual essence. With just these two, I am confident that I can cultivate the myriad demon valley into a powerful force in a short period of time. When the mystic ice jade fire wine is brewed, I can also know the brewing steps of the next spirit wine from the wine god's treasure mirror. However, the treasure trading convention should be starting soon. Tirtian stood in the quiet room, holding the jade pendant that Prime Minister Turtle had personally sent over. The jade pendant, which did not have any special features, was now flowing back and forth with a trace of jade light, which looked abnormally magical. Calculating the time, it was already time for the convention to start. He was not very interested in the convention. After all, if the convention on the island was for low-level transactions, then the treasure trading convention was for high-end treasures. Seeing the reaction of the jade pendant, he knew that it was urging him to go to the Crystal Palace. Pa! Without hesitation, he crushed the jade pendant in his hand. When the jade pendant broke, it turned into countless snow-white light spots, which gathered together and magically formed a door that could allow one person to pass through. Seeing the door, he walked in. As soon as he entered the door, in the blink of an eye, he strangely disappeared in a flash of light. Along with the door, he disappeared into nothingness. Anyway, Tirtian did not have anything to do outside. He had the wine grass and the ice fire fruit for brewing wine. Other spiritual herbs could be found in the grotto heaven. The wine god's gourd was the most precious treasure for brewing wine. There was a wine pool in the gourd that was specially used for brewing wine. As long as various spiritual herbs were put in according to the formula, the wine could be brewed automatically. There was no need to pay attention to it deliberately. Moreover, the water used for brewing wine was the Sky River in the grotto heaven. It was the purest. It could be predicted that it wouldn't be long before another type of spirit wine would be added to the god of wine gourd. Sakra reckoned that with the mystical nature of the god of wine gourd, he would probably be able to taste it before the mystic realm opened. Pada! After stepping into the gate of nothingness, Sakra only felt as if he had walked into water. With just one step, the scene in front of him changed, and when he looked again, he was already in a huge palace. As he stepped onto the palace, a series of crisp footsteps sounded under his feet. With a casual glance, Tirtian could not help but be amazed. The ancient saying is right. Don't say that the Dragon King has no treasure. The entire palace was built with crystals. There were all kinds of carvings, all of which were exquisite to the extreme. In the palace, there were 9 crystal pillars supporting the entire palace. Sir, please follow me to take a seat here. There were many beautiful maidservants in the crystal palace. Judging from their auras, they were all transformed from the water tribe. Most of them were transformed from various fish, clams, and other creatures of the water tribe. Not a single one of them was weak. Upon seeing Indra entering, a young girl immediately came before him and led the way for him. Without hesitation, he followed behind the young girl and entered the hall. In the hall, there was a huge rectangular table. Numerous chairs were placed around the table, and the number of chairs was so many that there were actually over 100 seats. At this moment, there were already dozens of monster kings seated at the table. Looking around, he was surprised to see Medusa among them. Seeing that the seat beside her was empty, he sat down and exchanged glances with Medusa. They smiled faintly and nodded to each other. The host at the head of the table was Prime Minister Turtle, whom he had met before. "Brother D, I've been waiting here anxiously. I was afraid that you wouldn't come to this gathering. If you did, I wouldn't have any spiritual wine to drink." Tion looked around and sized up the monster kings who had come. He looked very carefully. Monster kings who had condensed their inner elixirs were powerful figures in the monster clan. They were all second to none. If they wanted to make a name for themselves in the monster clan, it was inevitable that they would have to interact with these monster kings. The appearance of these monster kings after they transformed was mostly related to their temperament. For example, some looked rough, but their temperament was obviously the same. Some looked gloomy, which was probably related to their original bodies. Some were arrogant, some were handsome, and so on. They were all different. However, they could roughly see their respective natures. At first glance, Tion only noticed 3 of them. Among them, the first one was the silver-haired monster king who had spoken to him. His temperament was too unique. It was as calm as water, as if he had seen through the world. It was hard to figure him out. He couldn't even grasp his aura. Moreover, he realized that none of the monster kings dared to sit on the seats around the silver-haired monster king. From this, it could be seen that he was definitely not simple. There was a little girl beside him. His behavior was very unique. One was a woman. Speaking of her appearance, to be honest, Sakura actually couldn't see clearly what she looked like. Her face seemed to be shrouded by a layer of hazy fog, which was very strange. Moreover, after sitting down, she only held a dark green jade bamboo. Her slender jade fingers kept drawing on it, and from time to time, there would be strange talismans falling into the dark green bamboo. She didn't seem to care about anything else. No one dared to sit next to her. The last one was a middle-aged man in a golden robe. His eyes flickered with light from time to time. He didn't look strange, but for some reason, when he glanced at him, Sakura inexplicably felt a strong threat in his heart. It was as if he could pose a fatal threat to him. He couldn't help but pay attention to him. He just glanced at him and heard what the silver-haired monster king said. Tion also looked over and said with a faint smile, "The Treasure Exchange Convention is a grand event of the Monster Clan that only happens once every few thousand years. As a Monster King, I have to come and take a look. As for the spiritual wine you want, I've also brought it." Tion waved his hand and placed 3 gourds on the table in front of him. He gently opened the mouth of one of the gourds. Immediately, an extremely rich wine fragrance wafted out from the gourd. Just a casual sniff of this wine fragrance could lift one's spirit and increase the monster chi in one's body by a little. Its magical effect could be said to be extraordinary. This is a 100-year-old monkey wine. The power contained in the wine is also very useful to monster kings. Tion introduced casually. "Good wine." The silver-haired monster king's eyes lit up. He reached out and grabbed one of the gourds. He took a deep breath of the wine fragrance and couldn't help but praise, "Little Brother D is indeed extraordinary. I'll take this spiritual wine," the silver-haired monster king said without hesitation. He waved his hand and a jade box appeared in front of him. He opened the box and immediately, a strange fragrance wafted out. 5 elements sacred lotus. As soon as the box was opened, many monster kings in the hall couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Ever since Tion and the silver-haired monster king started talking, the monster kings all focused their attention on them. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 283. In fact, as soon as they stepped into the Crystal Palace, the treasure trading convention had already begun. Everyone could take out their treasures and say what they wanted to exchange. If they liked it, they could exchange treasures with each other and the transaction would be considered complete. The process was very simple. The purpose of the treasure trading convention was to exchange treasures. As the organizer, the Dragon Palace was also the host. They sent Prime Minister Turtle to support them. However, they would not interfere with the transactions here. Deshertion and Silverhair could be said to be the first to start the transaction. They attracted most of the Monster King's attention from the beginning. However, the items in the box made many Monster King's expressions change slightly. Obviously, they recognized the items in the box. The 5 Elements Sacred Lotus was not an ordinary spiritual item because only 5 lotus seeds would be born on the 5 Elements Sacred Lotus at a time. These lotus seeds were also called 5 Elements Lotus Seed. Each one was different and belonged to the 5 elements. They were called Fire Lotus Seeds, Water Lotus Seeds, and so on. They were named after the 5 elements. The conditions for their growth were extremely harsh. They could only be found in places where the 5 elements gathered. They could only be born in places where the power of the 5 elements was abnormally abundant. The conditions for their growth were almost exactly the same as the legendary 5 elements fruit tree. However, the 5 elements sacred lotus grew in water. Therefore, the place where it grew had to have water of the 5 elements. The 5 elements fruit tree had to be on land of the 5 elements. However, whether it was the 5 elements lotus seed or the 5 elements fruit, their effects were not very different. Any one of them could transform the physique of the person who consumed it into the body of 5 elements. For example, if one consumed the fire lotus seed or the fire elemental fruit, one's physique might transform into the body of fire elemental virtue, which was most suitable for practicing fire elemental technique. The others could also be deduced in order. It was extraordinary. It also had healing properties. Usually they could not be seen at all. Because the conditions for their growth were too harsh, most of them were probably extinct by now. They did not expect Silverhair to take out one so casually. It was valuable. It could be said to be immeasurable. It was extremely beneficial to any monster clan. This made the other monster kings exclaim one after another. Their eyes were filled with desire, but they were also clear about the rules here. During the transaction, outsiders were not allowed to interfere. Unless one party was dissatisfied with the item, they could not interfere. 5 Elements Saint Lotus? Deshertion was first overjoyed, then bitter. Looking at the 5 Elements Saint Lotus, he shook his head and smiled wryly. This Saint Lotus is too precious. My spirit wine can't compare to it at all. I'm afraid I can't take out anything comparable to it. I don't know how you want to do it. If it was outside at the meeting. If the other demon clans were to trade it for wine, the demon clans wouldn't be able to do so. Deshertion didn't say a word and wanted to change it no matter what. However, everyone here was a monster king. Every single one of them had intelligence that was not the slightest bit inferior to any human. None of them were fools. If you wanted to use a few gourds of wine to exchange for such a spirit item, you wouldn't even need to think about it. Hee. Silverhair looked at Sakura with a smile that wasn't a smile, as if he didn't care at all. I obtained this 5 Elements Sacred Lotus by accident. The lotus seeds on it have all been removed by me. Its value isn't as great as you think. Just give me some spirit wine as you see fit. There was an indescribable free and easy look on his face. Deshertion took a closer look. Indeed, all the lotus seeds on the Saint Lotus had been taken. There was only one Saint Lotus left. If he wanted to cultivate another one, he would need to spend a lot of time and find the 5 elements primordial water. In terms of value, it was indeed much less valuable. But to him, it was still attractive enough. In the grotto heaven, there was a lake formed by the 5 elements primordial water. It was the most suitable place to cultivate the 5 elements Saint Lotus. With the Saint Lotus, there was no need to worry about the lack of lotus seeds. Since that's the case, 110-year-old monkey wine, 5 gourds of 100-year-old monkey wine, and 1 gourd of 1,000-year-old monkey wine. What do you think? De Chertion thought for a while and stated his price. The most valuable thing here was the 1,000-year-old spirit wine. It was truly a priceless treasure. Hearing this, Silverhair's eyes lit up. He looked at De Chertion and smiled. All right, deal. I didn't expect you to have the 1,000-year-old spirit wine. I'm taking advantage of you in this deal. The light in his eyes was very kind. The deal went smoothly. De Chertion took out the spirit wine and received the jade box containing the 5 elements Saint Lotus. The transaction this time could be considered to have been completed successfully. With them throwing out a brick to attract more jade, the other monster kings also started to make deals. The items they took out were indeed rare treasures. Many of them were priceless treasures. It was only at times like this that they would take out their treasures of thousands of years to exchange for what they needed. De Chertion also took out the 1,000-year-old spirit wine and said that he wanted to exchange it for some precious spirit herbs. Needless to say, the name of the spirit wine also made many monster kings want it. They made deals several times. He also obtained a few precious spirit items, including a 9-leaf violet orchid and a passion flower tree. Together with a myriad calamity golden bamboo seedling, they had a good harvest. However, the items that the other monster kings made deals with also opened De Chertion's eyes. There were Dharma treasures, mystical items, and all kinds of precious elixirs. If they were taken out and placed in the immortal cultivation world, they would immediately cause a bloody storm. Medusa also exchanged a 5-colored strange stone for a supreme-grade Dharma treasure called the Sky Snake Staff. It was said that its power could enter the realm of spiritual treasures. He was also very satisfied. The deals in the Crystal Palace had always been carried out normally. It was not like ordinary people who quarreled endlessly. If they agreed, they would make deals. If they disagreed, they would take back their treasures. The deals were carried out very quickly. Many of the demon monarchs who had obtained the items they wanted left happily. In De Chertion's opinion, this treasure exchange convention was not too mysterious. At most, the value of the items traded was different because of the different identities of the traders. There was nothing else. Seeing the monster kings trading with each other and the happy expressions from the bottom of their hearts after obtaining the items they wanted, De Chertion could not help but have a thought in his heart. Most of the monster clan's clansmen are distributed in various mountain ranges. It is very difficult for them to meet each other. Many times it is also very difficult to find a certain item. That is why this trip to Misty Wave Island is so important. From the looks of it, if I develop my myriad demon valley in the future, if I establish an auction venue, it will definitely be very popular among the monster clan. Moreover, in my opinion, it is even more necessary to build a monster city. He secretly thought in his heart and planned for the future. The trade fair was almost done. Many monster kings had already left. There were not many left. Looking at the situation, De Chertion also left with Medusa. There was an exit in the crystal hall. They could leave after entering it. After leaving the hall, De Chertion and Medusa appeared on Misty Wave Peak. De Chertion, seeing that there was no one around, Medusa glanced at De Chertion with her beautiful eyes. With a strange expression on her face, she suddenly said, "In the past few days, I have asked other monster kings about the heavenly demon secret realm." Hearing this, De Chertion immediately perked up. His ears pricked up, afraid that he would miss out on anything. He replied, "Could it be that you have found out something important?" Although he said that, he was already certain that since Medusa had spoken, she must have obtained some accurate information. Medusa's expression was still indifferent, but she still said, Yes, I have heard some information from some monster clan members who have participated in the secret realm in the past. Please tell me. De Chertien's expression was serious. After all, this was not a small matter. It was related to the heavenly demon's secret realm. Perhaps if they knew more now, it would be immeasurable for them to enter the secret realm. It's about the heavenly Yin-Yang Bridge and the Huangquan River, Medusa said as she walked down the mountain. De Chertien frowned and muttered, Heavenly Yin-Yang Bridge? I have heard of the Huangquan River, but what is the heavenly Yin-Yang Bridge? He could not help but look at Medusa in confusion. This is a barrier. Medusa's expression was very serious. According to what I know, this heavenly Yin-Yang Bridge is a path of life and death in the secret realm. It is a bridge paved with blood. It is said that this bridge is the final obstacle in the arcane pocket realm, and is the only way to reach the other side of the arcane pocket realm. However, only 9 people can pass through this bridge. What's even more frightening is that as long as you step onto the bridge, no matter how high your cultivation base is, your cultivation base will be sealed instantly. You won't be able to fly or use magical techniques. Once you reach the top, you will become an ordinary person. It doesn't matter if it is the true essence of cultivators or the monster clan. It will all be sealed within your body. When the time comes, the only thing you can rely on when you reach the top is your own physical body, martial arts, and battle skills. He listened to Medusa's words slowly. De Chertien was incomparably shocked. This heavenly Yin-Yang Bridge was simply a graveyard of death. The dangers it contained were immeasurable. It could actually seal the cultivation base of all living beings, turning them into ordinary people. The only thing they could rely on was their own physical body and battle skills. Thinking about it, a nascent soul expert might be incomparably powerful outside. But once they stepped on the bridge, their cultivation base would be sealed. Their strength would be no different from that of an ordinary cultivator. When the time came to fight, they would not have any advantage. On the heavenly Yin-Yang Bridge, it was equivalent to putting all living beings on equal footing. However, in this way, body cultivators, or even monster clan cultivators, would have a huge advantage. After all, monster clan cultivators' bodies were so strong that cultivators' bodies could not possibly match them. Take De Chertien for example. He was an ancient monster clan cultivator. His body and monster chi could be said to have cultivated at the same time. The strength of his body was not the slightest bit inferior to that of any martial clan cultivator. If they really fought, the tiger soul would definitely be able to cause a storm of blood. A path of blood would be carved out. If you want to know more, please go to www.chidien.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 284. Hee. A strange smile appeared in De Chertien's eyes. If that's the case, we demons will have a huge advantage when we reach the heavenly Yin-Yang Bridge. At that time, the cultivation levels of the human nascent soul cultivators will be sealed. Perhaps my tiger soul will have to drink the blood of a nascent soul cultivator to see what's the difference. He raised his eyebrows. There was a thick, murderous aura between his brows. Human cultivators started from the Chi refinement realm and went straight to the foundation establishment realm, core formation realm, nascent soul realm, astral projection realm, soul integration realm, tribulation transcendence realm, and ascension realm. There was a clear hierarchy. In this trip to the heavenly demon mystic realm, those nascent soul cultivators who had not appeared for a long time would definitely appear. Perhaps even the astral projection and soul severing old monsters above the nascent soul realm would appear. However, no matter how high one's cultivation level was, as long as one stepped onto the heavenly Yin-Yang Bridge, no matter how high one's cultivation level was, it would be suppressed. At that time, it would not be too difficult to kill them. Strictly speaking, if one stepped onto the heavenly Yin-Yang Bridge and faced the demons The only ones who could match up to them were those martial body cultivators. However, martial body cultivators had lost most of their heritage. Those who walked the path of martial body cultivators were only a few itinerant cultivators. From what Di Shirtian knew, Wu Wudi was the only person he knew. Back then, he had already cultivated to the body-tempering realm of martial body cultivators. Now, if nothing unexpected happened, he must have stepped into the tendon's transformation realm. The strength of his martial body was probably not inferior to the demon's. You can't be careless. Medusa was not too surprised when she heard that he was going to kill the strongest human cultivators. The two races were enemies to begin with. There was not much friendship to speak of. However, she still reminded him, although all living beings will have their cultivation levels suppressed when they step onto the bridge, the mystic realm was built by our demon ancestors. It was a place for us, the younger generation of the demon race, to obtain opportunities. Even if our cultivation levels are suppressed, we still have our demon bodies. However, human cultivators have all kinds of Dharma artifacts and Dharma treasures. If we use our blood essence to activate the power of our Dharma treasures, their combat strength will not be inferior to us demons. When the time comes, we must not underestimate the enemy. Indeed, humans had all kinds of Dharma artifacts and Dharma treasures. Even if they could not use their Dharma treasures, they could use their talismans. The power of the explosion would not be small. It was definitely not an easy task to carve out a bloody path on the bridge. Thank you for the reminder. Di Shirtian nodded, expressing his gratitude. In fact, he didn't need her reminder. He wasn't stupid enough to think that those powerhouses above the nascent soul stage would recklessly cross the bridge like ordinary people. That was a gamble on the fleeting and illusory luck. After all, at that time, if they didn't have any other means, even the cultivator who crossed the tribulation would be on the same starting line as the other cultivators. No matter who it was, the longer they lived, the more they feared death. Whenever a cultivator made a breakthrough, they would not go out to play. Instead, they would go into secluded meditation, hoping to reach the next level before their longevity ran out. That was how it went. The old freaks would not come out unless absolutely necessary. Why? He was simply afraid of death. As they spoke, they left Misty Wave Peak and returned to their respective quiet rooms. Just like that, the Treasure Exchange Convention came to an end. To be honest, this convention was somewhat different from what Di Shirtian had imagined. In one word, it was too casual and without any rules. It wasn't very formal. However, none of this had much to do with him for the time being. He planted the 5 elemental sacred lotus that he had exchanged for in the lake within his paradise. He also planted the other spirit essences carefully, especially the passion flower tree. The passion flower on the tree was the main ingredient for brewing spirit wine, called heart-pulling wine. It was very strange. He sat down cross-legged on the futon. Hum! With a soft hum, the golden tiger soul appeared in front of him. He held the saber hilt with one hand and gently stroked the amber-like saber with the other. There was an inexplicable look in his eyes, which seemed abnormally deep. The tiger soul seemed to have spirituality. As he stroked the saber hummed from time to time, and there was a faint tiger roar in the humming. Tiger soul, oh tiger soul, ever since you advanced into a Dharma treasure, you haven't drunk a single drop of blood. I'm sure you're very thirsty. Don't be anxious. When we reach the Sky Fae mystic realm, I'll bring you to battle again and let you have a good meal. I'll let your sharpness become the nightmare of my enemies. Di Shirtian looked at the tiger soul as if he was looking at a lover or a brother. Whether it was the tiger soul or the 7 sins demonic zither, they were both his natal demon weapons. The materials used to refine these 2 treasures were so precious that it was impossible to estimate. If Sakra's own cultivation had already condensed an inner core when he was refining them, he was afraid that what was refined would not be a magic weapon, but would directly be promoted to the ranks of magic weapons. Now that he had condensed an inner core, the two intrinsic demonic artifacts naturally advanced as well. The seven sins demonic zither had absorbed too much power of desire, so it was still in hibernation in the demon residence. It was impossible to use it for the time being. However, the tiger soul had already completed its transformation. Its grade had directly advanced to Dharma treasure grade, although it was only an inferior grade Dharma treasure. However, its own potential and the level of its magic treasure might not be its limit. As for the tiger soul, after it advanced to a Dharma treasure, a little spirituality was born in the saber. This bit of spirituality completely separated it from Dharma treasures. Furthermore, its sharpness was even sharper. Now, under the tiger soul's sharpness, even a middle-grade Dharma treasure would be sliced apart if it were to clash head-on. Even a superior-grade Dharma treasure would be damaged. Furthermore, what was even more terrifying was that perhaps because the soul-devouring stone was melted into the tiger soul when it was refined, the tiger soul gained a powerful divine ability when it advanced to a Dharma treasure. In battle, it could absorb the opponent's blood essence and transform it into the purest essence chi before injecting it into his body. This allowed him to never face the danger of his demonic essence drying up in battle. It was just like the investiture of the god's Dharma treasure in his previous life, the blood dissipation saber. Just this characteristic alone immediately allowed the tiger soul to squeeze into an extremely high position among the divine weapons. Buzz. The tiger soul was indeed different now that it had spirituality. It seemed to be able to understand Deshirtian's words, and it was also dual cultivating with Deshirtian. For a moment, the saber trembled slightly, and a golden amber divine light burst out continuously. The cry carried a kind of joy and bloodthirstiness. Deshirtian saw it and smiled faintly. He placed the tiger soul across his knees, placed one hand on the saber hilt and the other on the saber blade, and closed his eyes to circulate his demonic essence. It was different from the usual cultivation technique. When the demonic essence circulated to his arm, it actually entered the tiger soul saber through his palm. It circulated through the tiger soul, came out from his left hand, and returned to his body through his right hand. After the demonic essence circulated through the tiger soul, it returned to his body, and there was a faint trace of the tiger soul's dominance. Using the demonic essence to nourish the divine weapon, and using the divine weapon's aura to temper the demonic essence. As the opening of the mystic realm approached, Deshirtian did not go out to set up a stall. Instead, he stayed in the quiet room like the other demon kings and tried his best to adjust his essence, chi, and spirit. He cultivated silently, hoping to improve during this period of time. Even if it did not work, he had to adjust his condition to the most perfect peak state. Therefore, Deshirtian did not bother about the matters outside. However, on the third day, Silver Hair suddenly came to find him. They had a secret talk in the quiet room for a while before leaving. As for what they talked about after meeting, no one knew except for the two of them. Deshirtian also knew Silver Hair's identity. He was the Dream Demon King, ranked third among the 8 demon kings on the mainland. Time passed day by day. The atmosphere on the island also became inexplicably heavy. Time passed quietly without them noticing. On this day, Deshirtian was still in the quiet room, quietly consolidating his cultivation. He urged the Black Lotus to continuously absorb the spirit energy of heaven and earth and the power of desire. He seized every minute to accumulate demonic essence. Rumble! However, just as he was immersed in cultivation, the sky above Misty Wave Island suddenly changed color. There was no sign at all, and a terrifying vortex appeared strangely. A terrifying purple lightning that seemed to split heaven and earth suddenly broke through the sky. The terrifying thunder actually caused the entire Misty Wave Island to shake violently on the spot. Once the vortex appeared, it spun rapidly. Under the horrified gazes of countless demon clan members, it swallowed all the light in heaven and earth continuously. In an instant, it caused the originally rising sun to strangely turn into night. Heaven and earth were covered by darkness. When the thunder sounded, de Chertien's originally closed eyes suddenly opened. There was a flash of light in his eyes, and they became deep again in the blink of an eye. Tiger Soul in front of his knees was suddenly in his hand. With a twist of his wrist, the blade was inserted into the scabbard on his back with a clang. "It's finally starting," he muttered to himself. His body swayed, and he left the quiet room, appearing outside the inn. Around him, a large number of demon clan members looked at the void with horror in their eyes. There was fear, anticipation, and curiosity in their expressions. De Chertion raised his head, and a look of surprise flashed across his eyes. The terrifying vortex that appeared in the void was continuously swallowing the light in heaven and earth. It directly turned the day into darkness. This method could be said to be stealing the sky and swapping the sun. How is it? This is just a heavenly omen when the mystic realm opens. I've already seen it once, but I still feel insignificant when I see it again. The superpowers of heaven demons can be said to be endless. Just the opening of the mystic realm that opens up has such a miraculous scene of stealing the sky and swapping the sun. Unknowingly, Silver Hair had appeared beside de Chertion with the little girl who had been following him all this while. He held a gourd in one hand and drank spiritual wine as he spoke casually. "Although this superpower is like a mountain to me now, I can only look up to it. I will be in awe, but not fearful. Instead, it has allowed me to see the path ahead." De Chertion was not surprised by Silver Hair's appearance beside him. Even if he knew that Silver Hair was one of the 8 great demon kings, he could not bring himself to bow to Silver Hair. In the face of an irresistible mighty power, he would be in awe, but he would not lose confidence. All along the way, his will had become extremely firm since a long time ago, and he possessed the confidence to climb to the peak. Moreover, he'd even personally experienced the peak state of a peerless expert on the Bone Wasteland, and that trace of comprehension was branded in his heart. He had his own understanding of cultivation. If he wanted to climb to the peak, he had to have courage that was fearless, perseverance that would never give up, and confidence that would press forward. Back then, the enlightenment in the withered bone wilderness had an inestimable impact on him. In the face of an expert, reverence could urge him to move forward and give him motivation. However, he could not have fear. If he had fear, there would be a shadow in his heart. If his will was not strong enough, how could he climb to the peak? De Chertion, what a good guy! When Silver Hair heard this, not only did he not think that he was arrogant, he even gave him a look of approval. The little girl beside him also looked at de Chertion with a different expression. It had become a little different. She lowered her eyes thoughtfully. She thought to herself, "Is this the great perseverance that Uncle said only a demon king who rose from humble beginnings can have?" Rumble. Since the vortex appeared, it had only been a short while. Not only did it turn day into night, terrifying bolts of lightning flashed around the vortex like a torrential storm. Silver snakes danced wildly, showing the ferocity and terror of the heavens' might in this pitch-black world. At the same time, a huge amount of spirit energy gathered around the vortex. It appeared in 4 directions. This is the heavenly omen when the mystic realm opens. Back then, I witnessed it with my own eyes. After the heavenly omen finishes, a divine light will descend from the vortex. When it falls on you, it will cover the entire Smoky Wave Island. When the divine light falls on you, it will not be forcibly guided. If you don't want to go to the mystic realm, you can resist with your own cultivation, and you can naturally break the divine light. If you want to go, you just need to follow the traction of the divine light, and you can throw yourself into the mystic realm. However, when you enter the mystic realm, you will appear in different places. Little brother D, remember this. Entering the mystic realm itself is a great opportunity. The scenery inside will be an eye-opener for you, Silverhair said with deep meaning. He had entered the mystic realm before, but he did not clearly explain the things in the mystic realm. He just said with a faint smile, "If you want to become an overlord, get the inheritance of the heavenly demon. Not only will your achievements be limitless, but our demon clan will also rise again." How? Not waiting for Sakura to carefully ponder over the meaning of Silverhair's words, a resounding and long cry that was filled with boundless majesty abruptly resounded. He hurriedly raised his head to look, and shockingly, he saw that in the surroundings of the vortex, an enormous divine bird that was completely enveloped in terrifying crimson-red flames inconceivably condensed. This divine bird elegantly stretched its feathers and spread its wings slightly. Immediately, hot air billows rolled down and swept through heaven and earth. It was not difficult to recognize that this divine bird was the vermilion bird of the 4 divine beasts. How? Without waiting for the vermilion bird to release its power, a tyrannical tiger roar filled with killing intent followed. After the roar, a mystical white tiger with wings on its back also condensed. Then, a black tortoise with a turtle and snake body appeared. An azure dragon that looked down on the sky. They appeared one after another. They were entrenched around the vortex. One roar after another shook the heavens. It was actually the 4 divine beasts guarding at the same time. The pressure of the divine beasts poured out and fell on Smoky Wave Island. On the spot, countless demons with weak cultivation were involuntarily awed by their majesty and fell to their knees with a plop. This is the pressure of the divine beast. It is indeed terrifying. Shirtyen's waist was always straight as a sea-stabilizing needle, but on his body, he could clearly feel that there were several mountains pressing down on his head. That kind of terrifying pressure made him feel suffocated. Under such circumstances, not to mention making a move, even moving was difficult. If he really faced the divine beasts, he was afraid that just their aura alone would be able to crush him to death. Now, it was just an image condensed in response to the heavenly omen. It was not their real bodies at all. This kind of pressure lasted for a moment. How? The 4 divine beasts roared one after another, and the figures that were originally condensed suddenly scattered, turning into countless light spots. These light spots, in an instant, formed streaks of golden divine light that fell from the sky. In the blink of an eye, the entire Smoky Wave Island was completely covered under the divine light. Almost all the living beings on the island were covered by the divine light. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Within the divine light, there was a strange pulling force. The pulling force was not strong. If one really wanted to resist, the divine light would easily shatter. Many of the demonic beasts on the island already knew the function of the divine light. As the light flashed, the demonic beasts' eyes shone with excitement. Under the pull of the divine light, they turned into streaks of golden light and escaped into the mysterious vortex. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared. Not even a ripple appeared in the vortex. See you in front of the Tongtian Inyang Bridge. Shirtyen felt the pulling force outside his body, turned to look at Silverhair, and nodded. He held the tiger's soul hilt with his right hand, turned his wrist, and made a soft sound. Tiger's soul was unsheathed. He pointed diagonally below him. He let go of his mind. He allowed the divine light to lead him out. Like the other demons, he instantly escaped into the vortex. Be careful. Silverhair looked at the little girl gently and nodded. His silver hair fluttered behind him, and without any hesitation, he turned into a divine light and escaped. For a moment, the divine light on Smoky Wave Island flickered continuously. In this darkness, it was like streaks of bright fireworks. It was really very strange. As they escaped with the divine light, their hearts were filled with endless expectations for the mystic realm. However, out of the thousands of people who entered, how many could really come out? The opening of the mystic realm was an opportunity, a massacre, and death. It was not just Smoky Wave Island. The same heavenly sign was also present on North Underworld Island. However, in North Underworld, the divine light that descended was much more than that of Smoky Wave Island. Until now, according to a rough estimate, there were hundreds of thousands of cultivators gathered on the island. All of them were the elites of the elite. For a moment, the guiding divine light flickered continuously. Such a strange scene could be said to only occur once in thousands of years on the purple gold mainland. In the deepest part of Smoky Wave Lake, there was a strange and magical underwater palace. This palace was formed by a large number of halls. It was strange to say that there was actually a layer of invisible light barrier around the palace that separated the surrounding water. It caused the space inside to have no water entering. On this palace there were ancient seal words, Crystal Palace. It was the palace of the Smoky Wave Dragon Clan. At this moment, in the main hall of the palace, there was a large group of dragons gathered. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 285. Yes, it was the dragon race. Their bodies were indeed no different from humans. They had the exact Tao body. However, although they had the body of a human, there were different dragon horns on their heads. Most of them grew on their foreheads. These dragon horns varied in size, age, and age. If one looked carefully, one could see traces of divine light flowing on them. The most important part of a dragon's body was none other than the dragon pearl. Their cultivation was all in the dragon pearl. Dragons were on par with the demon clan. Strictly speaking, dragons could also be considered a member of the demon clan. The demon clan cultivated the demon core. All their cultivation was poured into the inner core. The dragon clan's supernatural powers were all in the dragon pearl. This was the same. It was completely different from the human cultivators of today. The second important part of the dragon race was the dragon horn. The dragon horn contained their essence. As the saying went, those with scales and horns were dragons, while those without horns were snakes. Dragons did not live with snakes. It was obvious that there was a huge difference between having horns and not having horns. Another thing was the reverse scale. As the saying went, dragons had reverse scales and those who touched them would die. Let's not talk about that for now. The Crystal Palace was built in a dazzling manner. Corals and seaweed that usually grew in the sea grew in the Misty Wave Lake. Compared to the Crystal Palace, the Palace Hall was like a child's play. It was unrivaled. Any one of these pearls was priceless, not to mention the countless treasures in the water. The dragon race gathered in the Crystal Palace looked at the ancient bronze mirror floating in the middle of the hall. The bronze mirror had clearly been activated. It turned into a huge screen of light. On the surface of the bronze mirror, there were ripples like flowing water. A scene appeared in the mirror. If one took a closer look, it was not difficult to see that the scene in the mirror was the scene on Misty Wave Island. The figures of the demon race who escaped with the help of the divine light could be seen clearly in the mirror. Heavenly Demon Mystic Realm, oh Heavenly Demon Mystic Realm. This is the third time I've seen the opening of a mystic realm. Even now, I'm still unable to achieve such a great power. The divine powers of a heavenly demon are immeasurable. However, the number of demons that came this time was much fewer than the previous 2 times. It was a pity. It's easy to enter, but I wonder how many there will be when we come out. Above the Crystal Palace, a dignified old dragon wearing a dragon robe sat upright. He was awe-inspiring without being angry. Looking at the scene in the mirror, his expression revealed traces of reminiscence. Father, you once said that when you were young, you also went in with us. Why don't you tell us what is in the secret realm? Why is it that no matter if it's the demon clan or the human clan, once they hear that the secret territory is open, They all want to enter at all costs. On the left and right, the Dragon King's family was sitting in the main hall. Beside the old Dragon King, there was a beautiful middle-aged woman. She had a mature charm that was completely different from that of a young girl. She was not the slightest bit inferior to any peerless beauty. Beside him, Prime Minister Turtle stood respectfully. On both sides there were two youths on the left. One was around 15 or 16 years old, while the other was around 8 or 9 years old. They were all young Dragon Clan members. On the right there were 3 dragon ladies. The first one was the one who spoke. If Di Shirtian was here, he would realize that this dragon lady was the first princess of the Dragon Clan, Ao Qing, who had made a bet with him previously. She was dressed in green and looked even more heroic. The second one was a dragon lady who was around 17 or 18 years old. She was the second princess of the Smoke Wave Dragon Clan, Ao Hong. She was a fire dragon. Her favorite thing to do was to find people to fight. A small fight every 3 days and a big fight every 5 days. If she did not fight for a day, she would feel uncomfortable all over. The last one was around 15 or 16 years old. She was the most adorable and had 2 goats on her head. Her small face was rosy and the most attractive thing about her was her 2 watery eyes. It was as if there was a pool of clear water in her eyes and they were extremely pure. Speaking of these 3 dragon ladies, the old Dragon King had a headache. He was really helpless. Mystic Realm? The old Dragon King, who had been shrewd for tens of thousands of years, could not help but change his expression when he mentioned the Sky Demon Mystic Realm. After staring at the scene in the mirror for a long time, he sighed and said, "That thing is not simple. The demon clan in the ancient age was really terrifying. How is that a mystic realm? It is a small world. The remarkable power of the Sky Demon is immeasurable. I am sure that other than the demon clan, no one else, be it the human clan or the other clans, can obtain the mystic realm. That is because it is a backup plan left behind by the Sky Demon for the demon clan to rise again. It is a place for survival to preserve the seeds of the demon clan." As the old Dragon King spoke, there was an indescribable emotion in his voice. It was extremely complicated. What? The demon clan can rise again after obtaining the mystic realm? What exactly is in the mystic realm? In an instant, the Dragon Clan members who were seated all exclaimed. They all knew what the old Dragon King meant. If it was true, it would have a huge impact on the entire Zijin mainland. The demon race was a race that once dominated the world, spanning from ancient times to the present. They were a tyrannical race that dominated the world for countless years. During the ancient times, the demon race had produced countless peerless experts. In the ancient age, there was no other race that could compete with them. Although the demon clan was weak now, those old monsters who had lived long enough could not forget their power during the ancient age. If the demon clan really rose again, the power structure of the entire mainland would be completely broken. To be honest, when your father entered the mystic realm to take a look, I was almost scared to death. If the Sky Demon took out all the wealth accumulated by the Sky Demon for the demon clan, it would be enough to scare the human clan to death. The rise of the demon clan is in the bag. Especially with that supreme treasure. It won't be long before the human clan cultivators give them a hard time. The old Dragon King was not embarrassed. Instead, he said in a gloating tone, "Unfortunately, it's too difficult to gain the recognition of the Sky Demon. With the current demon clan, I'm afraid it'll be difficult." The word difficult described the myriad of difficulties in the mystic realm. Not to mention the conversation between the Smoke Wave Dragon Clan. These would not affect the determination of the demon clan and the human clan to enter the mystic realm. Streaks of divine light flickered like fireworks. In the darkness, they looked even more beautiful. Sakura was wrapped in this divine light and directly rushed into that huge whirlpool. The whirlpool spun non-stop, bringing along a spiral force that was absolutely irresistible. However, within the divine light, Sakura didn't feel the mighty force of the whirlpool at all. He directly shuttled through a position in the whirlpool. He passed through the vortex easily. I passed through it so easily. I've arrived at the Sky Demon Mystic Realm. Sakura unhurriedly held the tiger soul in his hand. The demonic chi in his body had already started to circulate, swiftly circulating within each demonic vein in his body. His mind was raised to an extreme level. Traces of radiance shot out from his eyes. Without the slightest hesitation, he swiftly scanned his surroundings. Suddenly, the divine light outside his body suddenly disappeared. It disappeared strangely. Obviously, its mission was completed and it disappeared naturally. As soon as the divine light dispersed, Sakura only felt that his entire body suddenly sank and was about to fall down. Casually looking around, he noticed that he had actually appeared directly in midair. If he were to fall down like this, there wouldn't be any damage, but he would definitely be in a sorry state. The divine light disappeared suddenly, but what kind of person was he? With a thought, a cloud of demonic wind condensed under him out of thin air. Both of his feet stepped on the black demonic wind and stood proudly. The strong wind blew the corners of his clothes, and his long hair fluttered behind him. An arrogant and domineering aura arose spontaneously. He held the tiger's soul horizontally in his hand, and a domineering aura surged out as he scanned the area below. He looked around. His eyes could not help but show a hint of surprise. Beneath him, there wasn't a mountain of blades, a sea of flames, or a boundless purgatory that Sakura had imagined. Instead, there were stretches of boundless mountains and rivers, with countless towering ancient trees that were incomparably dense. There was a scene of vitality everywhere. It was completely different from what he had imagined. For a moment, he could not help but feel a little stunned. Rumble! Suddenly, thunder rumbled above his head. He hurriedly looked up. In the void, there was a bright moon hanging high in the sky. The sound of thunder was so loud that it spread throughout the entire world. Around the bright moon, countless white rays of light appeared out of nowhere. As soon as these rays of light appeared, they immediately gathered and strangely formed purple lightning. It shook the void. Amidst the sound of thunder, the purple lightning was like purple divine dragons that constantly shuttled and wreaked havoc. However, there were no signs of dissipating. For some reason, Shirtian could vaguely feel that there was a strange aura of revival and vitality amidst the sound of thunder. Crack! The rays of light around the bright moon appeared one after another, continuously forming purple lightning. It was as if there was no end to it. Suddenly, these purple lightning bolts bombarded the bright moon from all directions at the same time. With a loud bang, the terrifying sound of thunder shook the surrounding void. Countless purple lightning bolts seemed to have poured all of their power into the bright moon in this collision. For a moment, the bright moon that was originally sprinkling silver-white moonlight was instantly covered with a thick purple color. The bright moon had turned into a purple moon. Countless purple lightning bolts from all around rushed into the purple moon, causing the purple light that burst out from the purple moon to become stronger and stronger. Crash! Just as Shirtian was staring at the scene in front of him, suddenly, countless sounds of the air being torn apart fell from the sky. No, it should be said that it fell from the purple moon. Endless purple light burst out from the purple moon, covering the world. However, as soon as the purple light left the purple moon, it instantly turned into a purple line. Rain! It was not purple light that fell, but purple rain. Could this be the legendary purple thunder's sweet rain? Even with Shirtian's mental fortitude, at this moment, he could not help but open his eyes wide and his mouth wide open. He could not close it for a long time. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 286. As the saying goes, with the spring thunder, all living things will come back to life. Lightning not only represented the power of destruction, but also the will of destruction. It also contained endless vitality and the power to create life. Thunder and lightning contained two completely different characteristics. For example, when Sakra and the other demon clans were undergoing the transformation demon tribulation, they didn't just have to withstand the thunder tribulation. Instead, they had to rush into the tribulation clouds to absorb the power of creation contained in the thunder tribulation to aid in their transformation demon tribulation. This also meant that lightning didn't only have the ability to destroy, it also had the ability to revive all living things. It contained the power of life. Life and death were all in a single bolt of lightning. It was just a matter of how it was converted. Purple thunder rain. It's actually the legendary purple thunder rain that only appeared in ancient times. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I would have thought that it was impossible. I didn't expect that I, D. Shirtion, would actually be able to witness the miracle of a rain. If there was a purple thunder rain in the purple gold continent, then my demon race would immediately revive. How could there be a purple thunder rain here? D. Shirtion's eyes were filled with disbelief as he watched the purple thunder rain fall from the sky. It was as gentle as the spring breeze, sprinkling on all living things below. No matter if it was trees, flowers, or even animals, as long as the purple thunder rain fell on them, it would naturally enter their bodies. It did not even wet their fur at all. All the trees began to dance in joy. They extended their branches and leaves, welcoming the arrival of the rain in their own way. When the rain entered their bodies, the eyes of the countless birds and beasts with turbid eyes gradually began to shine with light. There was an indescribable liveliness. It was as if some inconceivable changes had occurred in their bodies. Purple thunder rain. D. Shirtion witnessed the changes in front of him. There was also an indescribable expression on his face. Purple lightning was the lightning with the strongest destructive power among the various types of lightning in the world. It was the lightning with the most terrifying destructive power. Thus, the stronger the destructive power, the stronger the life force and the power of creation contained within it. These purple thunder, in an instant, exploded with the infinite vitality they contained and condensed on the bright moon, turning the bright moon into a purple moon. The boundless power of creation and good fortune transformed into violet moonlight that sprinkled down. What fell down was not moonlight, but rather moonlight that would naturally turn into rain. Liberate all living things. This sweet rain was extraordinary. It had endless benefits for all living things, no matter if it was grass, trees, birds, or beasts. As long as there was enough sweet rain, that way they would be able to give birth to spirituality. It triggered the accumulated power in their bodies. In a short period of time, he had directly passed the test of the form transformation demon tribulation. He transformed into a demon. This sweet rain could awaken the intellect and allow ordinary beasts to develop spirituality. It could transform all living things into demons. Moreover, there were no hidden dangers in this process. After they transformed, their cultivation bases would vary according to their potential and accumulation. The stronger ones, such as the strange beasts that had lived in ignorance for thousands of years, might have the strength of a demon king that had condensed an inner core as soon as they transformed. Ordinary birds and beasts might have similar strength as spirit beasts. However, their foundation, their starting point, was completely intact. It could be said that their cultivation speed was incomparably fast, and their intellect would not be damaged in the slightest. To the demon clan, this was a blessing from heaven and earth to all living things. A purple thunder rain could allow the demon clan to have countless new juniors. The numbers increased greatly. In ancient times, it was because of the purple thunder rain that had descended several times that the demon clan's numbers had increased greatly, allowing them to occupy the powerful position of the number one clan in ancient times. Unfortunately, after ancient times, there had never been another purple-gold rain that descended on the purple-gold mainland. Otherwise, the demon clan would not have fallen into such a declining state today. It was said that the demon awakening technique of the demon clan was created based on the purple thunder rain. Unfortunately, it was not a purple thunder rain, and the hidden dangers were obvious. What is going on? Is this a mystic realm? Could this be the method of a sky demon? Tion secretly frowned as he carefully observed the white light. The more he looked, the more he felt that the white light seemed to be formed from the light that was constantly devoured by the vortex on Smoky Wave Island. He secretly pondered, and his heart suddenly surged with waves of shock. Devouring the essence of the sun from the outside world, transforming it into purple thunder in the mystic realm, and using the power of purple thunder to form the purple thunder rain. For a moment, his mind quickly deduced the scene in front of him. With his wisdom, he had vaguely grasped the origin of this purple thunder rain. It was actually using the stealing sky-changing sun technique to steal the essence from the outside world and condense it into a rain. If this method was true, the sky demon's magical power could be seen from this. Amazing, really amazing. Although there was no proof, Tion already felt that this might be true. Watching the rain falling continuously, Tion's mind quickly turned, and he thought to himself, looking at the effect of this purple thunder rain, if it is really the same as in ancient times, then after the rain, there will definitely be a large number of creatures in the mystic realm that will transform into the demon clan and come out. With the countless plants, birds, and beasts here, the number of transformed demon clan must be huge. If I can bring it outside, wouldn't the strength of the demon clan be greatly increased in an instant? No, if I can take them all for my own use and integrate them under my power, becoming a member of my Myriad Demon Valley, then the Myriad Demon Valley that I built will really be worthy of its name. Countless thoughts flashed wildly in Tion's mind. Countless possibilities made his eyes grow brighter and brighter. Indeed, if such a group of demon clan could really gather under him, it would only take a little time for him to become the most powerful demon king in the demon clan. No, just as he was thinking, a beam of divine light suddenly descended from the sky and completely covered his entire body. Then, his body involuntarily spun countless times before it was sucked into a strange place. Along the way, he did not have the slightest ability to resist. He was directly taken away. Tion did not see that just after he was taken away. Below, in the dense mountain forest, a group of wild people wearing animal skins came out. No, it should be the demon clan. After they came out, one after another, they knelt down devoutly to the purple moon in the sky and curled up on the ground, letting the rain fall on them. The one in the lead was an old man with white hair. Behind him, there were many young, middle-aged, men and women of different appearances of the demon clan. Behind them, there were many such groups walking out of the mountain forest together. In the blink of an eye, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of demon clan had gathered in the open space. If one took a closer look, they would realize that each group of demon clan members exuded a different aura. It seemed that those gathered together were all demon clan people who had transformed into human form. It's another purple thunder rain. Lord Heavenly Demon's grace. Most of the people behind him were beautiful women, led by an old man. The other people, whether they were beautiful women or handsome young men, looked at the old man with eyes full of respect. The old man looked at Ziyu with a look of reverence and devotion in his eyes. The descent of the purple thunder rain this time means that the mystic realm opened by Lord Heavenly Demon has reopened outside. Then, can the people who came in this time obtain Lord Heavenly Demon's inheritance and bring us out? Yes, if the people outside can't obtain Lord Heavenly Demon's inheritance, we will have to wait for thousands of years. At that time, we can only enter the Demon Burial Valley to sleep like our ancestors. I really want to go out and see what the purple gold continent is like in the records of our ancestors. Can we still return to the place where our ancestors lived? The questions made Hu's wrinkled face even more wrinkles. He raised his head and sighed bitterly. Back then, Lord Heavenly Demon led our ancestors into this mystic realm in order to preserve the strength of our demon clan, recuperate, and be able to leave behind seeds to reproduce. I'm afraid Lord Heavenly Demon didn't expect the mystic realm he left behind. Until now, no one has been able to pass the test to obtain the inheritance. This is another test to see if we can obtain Lord Heavenly Demon's inheritance. I'm not sure either. All I know from the records is that there are several hurdles to get Lord Heavenly Demon's inheritance. If one doesn't have the potential to become a peerless expert of the demon clan, I'm afraid this inheritance won't appear. Old Fox's eyes sparkled with wisdom. He murmured, I only remember that there were a few checkpoints that tested the newcomer's courage, perseverance, wisdom, as well as universal love. Even perseverance. Our ancestors once said that Lord Heavenly Demon wants to pass on the inheritance to a peerless expert who can lead our demon clan to rise again and survive on the purple gold continent. If you have courage, you will not be afraid of any difficulties and face any terrifying existence. If you have perseverance, you will not give up in any difficult times. If you have wisdom, you will be able to lead our demon clan on the road to self-improvement. If you have universal love, you will be able to plan for our demon clan's future. You will be able to truly love our demon clan. Only such an inheritor can give the demon clan a chance to rise again. If you have perseverance and patience, you will not let our demon clan walk into a desperate situation under any circumstances. There may not even be 1 in 10 million people like this. Old Fox sighed. It is said that when we evacuated to this place, the human clan was wantonly slaughtering us demon clans. Perhaps because of this, the demon clans on the mainland may have suffered heavy casualties and are now in decline. Even now, we may not be able to recover our vitality. Such a person. There may not be another one. There was an inexplicable sadness in his eyes. The demon clan in the mystic realm had moved in when the mystic realm was opened. Every one of them was an elite of the demon clan. It was to preserve the demon clan. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 287. As long as they did not die, there was hope. As long as they were not destroyed, they were the winners. In the ancient calamity, the great collapse of the heavens caused the demon race's experts to perish. After the great collapse of the heavens, the human race turned against the demon race. The battle that established the human race as the main characters was the moment when the demon race was almost annihilated. To the demon race, it was a bloody battle that they had no chance of winning. Only in the end, the elites of each race would be selected. Escape into the mystic realm. Preserve the last bit of vitality of the demon race, the last glimmer of hope for their rise. As long as they could preserve the heavenly demon mystic realm, it would be an invisible victory for the demon race at that time. Because they had won the last capital to turn the situation around. They were waiting for their descendants to come and take this great opportunity for their rise. Unfortunately, the heavenly demon's plan back then was indeed the only feasible way to preserve the seed. In the mystic realm, there was a small world of its own. With the purple lightning's sweet rain, it gave birth to sentience and continuously transformed into demon race. It helped the demon race to recuperate and accumulate strength. It could be said that he had put in a lot of effort. However, the heavenly demon only wanted to recuperate. He did not expect that the mystic realm he created would open one after another, but not a single descendant of the demon race could obtain his inheritance. They could reopen the mystic realm and lead the large number of demon race members in the mystic realm back to the mainland where they had lived for generations. The demon race's losses back then were too great. Over the past tens of thousands of years, the human race had continuously killed demons for their cores and consumed the demon race's cores to increase their cultivation. For countless years, countless demon race ancestors had died because of this. The demon race declined even further. To this day, not a single demon race member could obtain his inheritance. It even led to the current situation. Lord Heavenly Demon, do you know? We, the younger generation, have been waiting here for generations. But because of our lifespans, we had no choice but to step into the demon burial mound and wait for our death. So many ancestors, so many demon race heroes, died in vain just like that. If Lord Heavenly Demon were still alive, I'm afraid you would cry. Who looked up at the purple moon and the sweet rain falling from the purple moon. His eyes revealed a sorrowful expression. If I can't obtain the inheritance, I will also go to the demon burial mound to accompany my ancestors. Hearing his words, many demon race members around him with the same sorrowful expression. Obviously, he felt the same way. There were great opportunities in the mystic realm, but to the descendants of the ancient Fey race who had retreated into the mystic realm, it was an indescribable sorrow. Back then, the Heaven Fey had sacrificed themselves to preserve the Fey race's fire. After they had retreated to the secret realm, he had sealed the passageway to the secret realm. No one could open the passageway unless they had a higher cultivation than him. They could only wait for this natural opening that only happened once every few thousand years. Only then would he be able to connect the secret realm to the purple gold continent. However, a small world was ultimately a small world. Furthermore, it was a small mystic realm that the heavenly demon had been forced to create in a hurry. Furthermore, it was a place where the legacy was to be established. Naturally, this small world couldn't compare to the purple gold continent outside. The heaven and earth spirit chi here was really thin. It was fine when it was first opened, but after countless years, the spirit chi here was far from what it used to be. Furthermore, there was a restriction in the mystic realm. It was impossible to condense an inner core in this small world. Although Hu and the other demons were all in human form, they did not have inner cores in their bodies. This was because they were limited by the heaven and earth. Without condensing an inner core, no matter how long a demon's lifespan was, they would still wither and die. This was the price they had to pay. It was lamentable and lamentable. I pray that someone can pass the legacy this time. I pray that we can return to our ancestral land while we are still alive. We will die for the rise of the demon race. Even if we die, we will have no regrets. Let us see our ancestral land once more. Countless demonic beasts knelt down and prayed to the purple moon. Their prayers contained a kind of ancient rhyme. This place is. Naturally, Di Shirtian didn't know what these ancient demon descendants were praying to. The mystic realm was divided into two layers. One was on earth, and the other was in the sky. The first layer was for living beings to rest and recuperate, while the second layer was for the land of legacy. Taking Di Shirtian and the rest as an example, all the demon clan and human clan that entered the mystic realm from the outside, generally speaking, they would not appear in the place where the descendants of the demon clan could cultivate and live. They would appear together in the land of legacy. They would be tested by the heavenly demon. If nothing unexpected happened, they wouldn't know that there was another world in the mystic realm. Di Shirtian, on the other hand, had inexplicably paused in another layer of the mystic realm for a short while. What he saw and understood were great secrets that had never appeared before. Unfortunately, just as he was about to explore, the mystic realm automatically sent him to another place. Caught by the divine light, the scenery in front of him changed in the blink of an eye. He couldn't help but be shocked. Kill, kill, kill. Cold, murderous cries that shook the heavens and penetrated the 9 hells poured into Shirtian's ears. That murderous aura, that murderous power, didn't come from one person or 100 people, but from tens of millions or trillions of living beings. The murderous cries that came from within his body. Shirtian tightly gripped the tiger soul that was connected to his bloodline. Even with his mental fortitude, he couldn't help but tremble violently at this moment. His expression changed, one of shock and disbelief. In front of him was an ancient starry sky. He stood in this ancient starry space. Around him, there were countless tall figures. Boundless demonic aura shook the starry sky. Boundless murderous aura broke through the heavens. Demonic aura filled the entire starry sky, occupying half of the starry sky world. On countless stars, there were great demons that were thousands of feet tall and demon sages directly under their feet. Tragic murderous aura burst out from their bodies. It was so strong that it made the starry sky tremble and countless stars fall. Countless demon race experts who could shatter stars with just their aura alone were densely packed in the starry sky. If one were to count carefully, there were probably no less than 10 million demons formed by other demon kings and great demons. There were hundreds of millions of them. Countless demons even revealed their true forms or spread out huge wings on their bodies. They held sharp battle blades in their hands. Their bodies were brimming with an indomitable and tragic aura. Kill, kill, kill. The same voice converged like a stream. With a roar, the starry sky was destroyed and stars fell. Tsk, tsk. In front of the endless demon race army were countless demon gods that were densely packed like locusts. The demonic aura that burst out from these demon gods was not inferior to that of the demon race. It filled the starry sky and was on par with the demonic aura. It was truly terrifying. Each of these demon gods had a massive body that was hundreds or even thousands of feet tall. They had terrifying appearances and were all different. Some had 3 heads and 6 arms, some had huge scorpion tails behind them, and so on. Each of them had the appearance of a demon god, and looked even more terrifying than the demon race. Of course, there were also demon gods that had a complete Tao form. The aura that these demon gods exuded could shatter the starry sky around them. Kill, kill, kill. The demon race and demon gods in the starry sky did not say anything. Amidst the sounds of killing, they waved their battle blades and charged forward recklessly. Hundreds of millions of demon race and demon gods fell like rain. A rain of blood floated on the battlefield. In the starry sky, countless heaven-defying superpowers penetrated the past and present, destroying the starry sky. Countless stars were silently annihilated. Demonic aura and demonic aura collided violently. The starry sky was shattered, the sun and moon were tilted, and Xing-He was reversed. The demon race charged forward bravely. They were invincible. In the battle, demon race blood splattered everywhere. They were filled with boundless heroism. They did not retreat even when they fell. The demon god's demonic aura filled the sky and destroyed the firmament. They held the sun and moon with their palms and controlled the stars. Everywhere they passed, everything was annihilated. The demon race's might was as vast as Xing-He. On the battlefield, every strike had the terrifying power to destroy a star. Kill, kill, kill. Countless monster race cultivators rushed forward without hesitation. Their eyes were filled with incomparable determination. They were filled with the great determination to face death. There was great terror between life and death. Shirtian stood in the starry sky battlefield and looked at the blood of heaven and earth that was composed of the blood of hundreds of millions of demon race. There was an indescribable emotion surging out of his body and condensing in his chest. In his mind, there was a strong urge to brandish Tiger Soul and fight alongside the demon race. There was endless hot blood surging crazily in his body. His blood was excited. Tiger Soul let out a series of tiger roars. It yearned to fight and fight. However, The battle in front of him had long exceeded the limits of his cultivation. Whether it was the demon gods or the demon race, a casual attack could blast him into pieces. If he was slightly involved in the battle, the aftermath of the battle would be enough to tear his entire demon race into pieces. He did not even have the right to participate in the battle. If he joined, he would die. There was great terror between life and death. In a battle of equal strength, charging up to fight was killing the enemy. The enemy could easily poke him to death with a finger. Was there any value in charging up? It was filled with the lofty sentiments, boundless bloodthirst, and the heart to die without regret. Shirtyen's blood was boiling, and he could not control it. However, he had a clear understanding of the consequences of charging up and fighting, so he forcefully suppressed the thought of fighting with the demon race army. For a moment, his heart was constantly hesitating, struggling, and wavering. The choice between life and death. It could be said to be the most difficult choice. Moreover, this was a situation where death was certain. Rushing onto the battlefield, was it stupid, heroic, brave, or stupid? With my body, I stop the demon gods. Even if I fall into the 9 hells, I have no regrets. With my blood, I summon all life, only I, the demon god, whose blood is profound and yellow. Lamenting the heavens, just as Shirtyen was hesitating between hot-bloodedness and reason, a series of tragic songs filled the sky. Countless demon gods fell from the sky and fought with their blood. There was only hot-bloodedness, only courage. Even if I die, my blood is profound and yellow. Roar! Upon hearing the tragic song, Shirtyen's body suddenly became incomparably large. He was hundreds of feet tall, and he let out a determined tiger roar. His blood was boiling, and tiger's soul was roaring. The divine light in his eyes flickered and fluctuated. Finally, an indescribable determination formed in his eyes. Bang, bang, bang! Step by step, starlight paved the way under his feet, and a halo appeared. Tiger's soul filled the sky. Not to mention that Shirtyen was inexplicably sent to a battlefield in the stars, and was in the midst of endless slaughter. Hundreds of thousands of human cultivators were guided by the divine light on North Night Island. Almost all of them did not hesitate to follow the guidance of the divine light and enter the huge vortex. Once they entered, in the blink of an eye, the scene in front of them suddenly changed. Ah! Poof! 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 In just a moment there was a series of mournful screams. At the same time, it was accompanied by the sound of blades piercing into bodies. Streaks of blood spurted out. Blood splattered across the sky. Save me, who can save me? Blades, there are blades everywhere. Quickly pull me out, master. Countless chaotic cries sounded one after another. Exhilarating, be careful. All of you, come to me. If I'm not mistaken, this should be the Blade Prison. A middle-aged man dressed like a Confucian scholar held a jade flute in his hand. His eyes revealed traces of elegance as he stood in the void. He waved the jade flute in his hand, and several balls of jade light immediately pulled 2 girls not far away to his side. Of the 2 girls, one had a veil over her face, and the other was a petite girl. They had a strong youthful aura. They were none other than Qinshin and Xiao Dai. Third uncle? Katomi nodded at the middle-aged Confucian scholar, and looked around in surprise. Is this the Blade Prison? Yes, that's right. When I was young, your third uncle also heard about it from your grandfather. The middle-aged Confucian scholar waved his long sleeves and looked around. His eyes were full of calmness as he said slowly, "This sky demon mystic realm is not simple. It's easy to enter, but difficult to leave. Every time a few 100,000 people enter, I'm afraid that not even 10,000 can leave. Here, the sky demon mystic realm is a complete death trap. I only remember your grandfather mentioning that there are several checkpoints in the mystic realm that require one to use one's life and flesh to pass. The most well-known one is the Mountain of Blades and Sea of Flames." Mountain of Blades and Sea of Flames? Katomi's eyes narrowed slightly. She stroked the zither in her hand and her expression returned to its usual calmness. Her face was cold and her mind gradually calmed down. This showed that her mental state cultivation was extraordinary for her to be able to regain her composure so quickly. Such a state of mind needed to be nurtured. How could one nurture it? The zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting could all cultivate one's mind. The mountain of blades is this blade prison. The middle-aged Confucian scholar explained calmly, this is not an ordinary blade prison. It hasn't been activated yet. According to what I know, once it's activated, the blade prison's blade chi will sweep across. Everywhere it passes, thousands of living beings will be instantly cut into thousands of pieces. If one dies here, they will never be able to rise again. What's even stranger is that the souls of the dead will turn into bloodthirsty demonic blades in the blade prison. It's extremely terrifying. Each time, more than 30% of the cultivators who enter will die in the blade prison. What? Turning souls into bloodthirsty demonic blades? That's so terrifying. Xiao Dai followed beside him and pricked up her ears to listen. When she heard this, she could not help but exclaim and look down. There were many blood-red battle sabers in the surroundings. The sabers were emitting a strange blood-red light. The blood-red light was filled with a bloodthirsty aura. Those blood sabers were all pointed upwards. Once they landed, countless holes would be created on the spot, sucking one's blood and devouring one's soul. There were almost countless blood sabers. At a glance, there were such terrifying blood sabers everywhere. Judging from their location, they seemed to be at the foot of a mountain. The mountain was a saber mountain. Countless blood sabers were piled up and slanted upwards. They were probably more than 10,000 feet tall. It was as if it was a demonic blade that was formed by countless blood sabers. Soaring saber chi pierced through the world. It blocked in front of all the cultivators. If they did not pass through the saber mountain, they would not be able to see the path ahead. There were no shortcuts. If there was a way to cross, they would have to walk through the saber mountain. Looking at the saber mountain, the saber chi continued to sweep and let out countless piercing sounds. One could feel that the saber mountain was definitely not easy to cross. If they wanted to cross, sure, they would have to pay with their lives. This is the saber mountain of the blade prison. We are only at the foot of the mountain. If we want to cross, we have to climb from here. However, the higher the mountain, the stronger the saber chi is and the more terrifying it is. When we reach the peak, the saber chi is strong enough to crush core formation cultivators easily. Therefore, after crossing the saber mountain, there is a saying that 1 inch of saber mountain, 1 inch of blood. We must not be careless. The middle-aged Confucian looked at the saber mountain calmly. He exhaled softly and said, "Furthermore, we must not fly on the saber mountain." "What happens if we fly?" Xiao Dai asked curiously. "If you want to know, just look for yourself." The middle-aged Confucian smiled faintly and did not say anything, indicating for them to look forward. At that moment, a large number of cultivators were standing at the foot of the mountain in the blade prison. In the blink of an eye, there were more than 100,000 cultivators. The cultivators who fell into the countless sabers and were pierced with countless saber holes did not know what was going on in the secret realm. They fell into the saber blades and died unjustly. They could still see the miserable state of their corpses. There were thousands of such corpses. However, now that there were cultivators standing on the mountain, the cultivators who came later could help each other. No unlucky cultivators fell into the saber again. A large number of cultivators gathered at the foot of the saber mountain and looked at it. At that moment, no one dared to move forward. Clearly, they did not dare to act rashly. However, at this moment, a rather handsome young cultivator shouted, as if he wanted to show off in front of the other cultivators, "It's just a saber mountain. I can fly over easily. Watch me, Wang Ju, open the way for everyone." After saying that, he waved his hand and a spirit boat appeared in front of him. He quickly rushed onto the spirit boat and drove it into the sky with an excited look on his face. He wanted to fly over the Saber Mountain and cross it. That action attracted the gazes of many cultivators. When he saw that everyone's gazes were on him, Wang Ju was excited and wanted to show off. He pushed the spirit boat to its limit. He turned into a spirit light and charged out. When it comes to the main plot, I need to think about it carefully and organize my thoughts. Feel free to do so. Writing is a little slow. I'll resume tomorrow. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.